race fans, the 100% Cup Series, welcome to you to Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm under Grandbouche, joined alongside Michael David and producer James Parfitt here for JPB Michael, this is going to be a fun race. We're here in the round of 8 in the playoffs, getting ever closer to that final championship for race. We got some track info up on screen if you want to take that in home. But yeah, Michael, it's great to be here.
Yeah, excited to be here, and we're right now currently seeing the overlays of the track itself, brought to you by Sim Racing Community. Do you want to give them a shout out here? Sim Racing Community has been designed to bring the sim racing world together onto one platform, covering all categories from the latest news, a forum that covers all areas of the major sim racing titles, a social community allowing you to meet new people within the sim racing world, live racing, league racing, paint shop design downloads, and much, much more. The platform is free to use and enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you there. So you can check them out. It's www.simracingcommunity.com. They are providing this lovely overview of the track that we got going on here. But yeah, no, this is going to be very exciting here at Homestead, Miami. Next week we got Martinsville, and then we're down to the final four at Phoenix. So it's really coming down to the nitty gritty here.
Yeah, now Homestead, Miami, a very interesting track. It's not been around that long in the grand scheme of things. This track broke ground in 1993, and it opened for its first event in 1995. But despite its relatively short lifespan, there's been a lot going on with this track, a lot of history. There's been a reconfiguration in 2004. A lot of fans may not even realize this track used to be flat, more or less, all the way around with only a couple degrees of banking. And then in 2004, they added a ton of banking, which completely changed how it raced. And once it became the final race on the schedule for the championship event, of course, more history was made there. Moments like Jimmy Johnson getting his 7th championship, or Carl Edwards just letting one slip through his fingers there at the very end to Joey Logano. It was, I think, a perfect track for the final event. But despite the fact that it's been moved back on the calendar to just a round of 8 race, it's still going to put on a great show. And I tell you what, I'm definitely looking forward to it. We only got about a minute left in practice. And tell you what, Michael, I think these drivers are going to need all the practice they can get because they have been struggling with this track. I've been, kind of keeping my ear to the ground and listening to what the teams are saying. And a lot of struggles with handling here at Homestead.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised in that. This is definitely a challenging track to learn. It's challenging to get a right setup. You see the two main lines are the low line and the high line. You come out of the corner and you jump up and you're up against the wall real close, so you got to be really careful with that. But this is definitely a bit of a challenging track just to kind of wrap your head around. I was watching a bit of the Xfinity race earlier and a little bit of the truck race as well. I expect to see a few cautions tonight, and I expect to see quite a few people brushing up against the wall. Hopefully not too hard and breaking anything, but yeah, we'll go ahead and see there, but I'm definitely expecting quite a bit to go on as we take a look here at our playoff standings. We've got John Delaney in first place, Matt Long coming through in second place currently. Third place is Bryson Hicksonbaugh, and fourth place is Lucas Hoitzma. And then we have our cut line. We have Blake Iglio, 18 points back, RJ Root, 28 points back, Ralph Hutchison, 47 points back, and Alex Murray, 55 points back. So those 4 drivers there at the bottom definitely need a lot of help to be able to move forward and continue on in Vegas. Or Phoenix, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Now we do have our starting grid as the drivers do again qualify throughout the week. The qualifying session is not done on race day. So looks like Matt Dicciani actually took the pole, which I believe that may be his first pole in the league. So congratulations, Matt. Lucas Hoitzma on the outside of him in that 07. There's a playoff driver. Robert Anderson, a driver who's been really catching fire lately and getting a lot of speed out of that car that maybe we didn't see earlier in the season, continuing his great run here in third. His outside, he got Ralph Hutchison in a bit of a must-win situation for old Ralph. Derek Heitman and Damian Acerenze are going to be 5 and 6. 7 and 8 is going to be Matt Long and Jason Baker. Running at your top 10, it's Jason Taylor and Alex Murray. Michael?
We have Bryson Hicksonbaugh coming through in 11th place, and Alexander Russell closing out your 6th row. Blake Iglio up into 13th place, really needs a strong run tonight. Trevor Ryan joining him back on the 7th row in 14th place. 15th, we have Sean O'Brien and Wayne Gracie. 17th, we have Kyle Ammon. And then 18th is Christoph Hammond. Ammon and Hammond. There we go. Nolan Hodgson is in 19th place. Carl Dodson in 20th place. And then we have Mark Paget and Alex Vandersant rounding out the 21st and 22nd place. Brandon Pierce in 23rd and Mike Christopher in 24th.
And looking just a little bit further back from them, in 25th, it's going to be Jeff Hooper alongside Tanner Marty. Cameron Stone, P27. Patrick Muchet, 28th. Raymond Root is going to be 29th alongside Dalton Mobley. And then a row back from them, you've got Chad Sander and Damaris Hickenbottom. Alex Brinson, Preston McRae behind them. Kevin Steele and Chad Edwards are going to be 35th and 36th, respectively. And we're not going to forget them rounding out the field. Randy Drumhiller, the legend in that number 44 car, is going to be your final starter here. In the final row, all on his own back there. But on the left side of the screen, I believe actually the graphic is correct. So we do have the playoff drivers highlighted in red. If they are playoff eligible, their name will have that color. You can also keep an eye out on the cars themselves. They should have special playoff banners that are different from all the rest across the windshield. And I want to say they have colored spoilers, but don't quote me on that one. I could be wrong. Green flag in the air here at Homestead for this race in the round of 8. And it's a clean start for both rows. But look at this. Lucas Hoitzma, not the pole sitter, actually gets a massive run on the outside, is able to overtake Matt Dicciani, and he's trying to drive away with the lead. Now, Michael, that's not something we see very often. Generally, the control car is the car that gets the lead immediately. They get to decide when the race starts. I got to wonder if Lucas maybe didn't jump that a little bit.
Yeah, it's either he jumped it or he just timed it perfectly. But Lucas Hoitzma really getting a strong start out there, jumping out in front of DiCiani. See DiCiani trying to hold on to him a little bit, not letting him go too far. But great start there by Lucas Hoitzma. And then we see Anderson is up into 3rd place and Hutchison in 4th place. Heitman rounding out your top 5 here, as we'll see. And I'm expecting quite a few different lines through these corners. I think as we start, most people are early in the runs are going to be wanting to stick to the bottom. But I think as we get later into these longer green flag runs, we're going to see more and more cars sliding up the track, going a little bit higher with that higher line, and trying to conserve tires a little bit.
And one thing I'm noticing, you mentioned the tire conservation. As we go 3 wide, the number 16, Blake Giglio, currently beneath the cut line. He's going to make a pass on the 51. Sean O'Brien Jr. also sticking his nose in up top, continuing to make it 3 wide. But back to the tire conservation, Michael. Going around the bottom is going to be the best way to save tires here. That's everything that I've heard from the drivers so far. Bryson Hickson-Boss specifically said that if you want to save tires, you got to stick to that white line. And there's a lot of drivers right now, amidst all this chaos in these hornets' nests that we're seeing, that are kind of trapped up high. They have no choice but to run up there. And so they're kind of being forced into a situation where they're abusing their equipment harder than anybody else. And that could really come into play later in the race should this stay green. But in a situation like this, I don't ever want to theorize about how many cautions we're going to get, because right now, things are looking pretty crazy. We'll have to see if it settles down.
Yeah, this is definitely getting to be a very antsy start here as we get into that mid-pack. We see Lucas Hoitzma's out to a really strong lead here so far. So everything up front there, as we see our top 4 cars are kind of starting to stretch out, but everything a little further back is still kind of bunched up. Hoping that we stay green here, but we've already seen a couple cars go 3 wide. I would not be surprised if we see a couple more.
And we do have somebody down on the apron. I'm not sure who that was. Jason Taylor, according to our producer. He was down on that access road. I'm not sure if he just got a little bit squirrely or if maybe he made an unscheduled stop, but he's back on track. He's seeming to be all right. Now, I want to shine a light on the 4th place car, Ralph Hutchison, real quick, because, again, he's in a must-win situation. Drivers like Blake Giglio, they're technically in a position where they can point their way in. Ralph is at the point where he's lost so many points. He's got to win. He's got to get that automatic advancement. And to see him have a fast car early on like this is a pretty good sign for that team. I think if he can just use the pit stops later on to make a few adjustments, maybe some tire pressure adjustments, maybe some track bar adjustments. Actually, I take that back. This car doesn't actually have a track bar. Possibly some wedge adjustments. Maybe he can get a little bit more out of it, and he can be up there battling with Hoitzma. Dicciani definitely has speed early on, and what a season it's been for Ralph Hutchison. Starts the season out with LDR, one of the fastest cars on the track, definite contender week in and week out. Goes through a bit of a rough patch, willingly steps down from LDR. He was not released, he was not fired, he willingly stepped down. He said, I don't think I'm giving the team what they need right now. And so he comes back to the league, this time as a bit of a lone wolf. And in doing so, he seems to have found something in himself. He's doing really well.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting, and I wonder if maybe he felt like he was putting a little too much pressure on him to help with the team. and maybe just relieving some of that pressure, being a lone wolf, as you said, kind of helps him get back into the focus. So that's very interesting. Generally, I would assume that working with a team of people, helping with setups and helping get your mind right for race day would generally be a stronger tack. But you see Ralph going the opposite way there. That's pretty interesting that you say that.
Yeah, and then Matt Long behind him in 5th. He just passed Derek Heitman. Matt Long was his teammate at LDR. He was teammates with Ralph Hutcherson. Now they are not tied in any way. So if these guys do start racing, don't expect any courtesies between them. They're just going to race each other, I'd assume, like they're just another car on the track. But, you got to think, if that 97 gets in front of the 54, what's got to be running through his mind there. But they go 3 wide behind Matt Long for just a moment. Man, these guys still just absolutely not leaving anything. There's Bryson Nixonbaugh, the before it breaks auto parts machine, trying to kind of stay in line with that car ahead. As underneath him, we've got the number 28, Alex Murray. He's trying to make something happen down there. He's got that preferred line. You might notice Bryson is in a new paint scheme, that blue and pink. You're going to see a few paint schemes with that color scheme. As we are in Miami, we're going to be emulating a little bit of that Miami Vice vibe. And I believe the number 38 is another car that has a scheme pretty similar to that. So we do that every year when we come to this track. Always neat to see some unique paint schemes.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I know earlier in the season they did a couple of the soda can liveries. So every car had their own different kind of like Coke can or Pepsi or whatever. The soda, that was pretty cool here. But yeah, I like seeing these older kind of like, I want to say just like a Miami feel to them. It really is cool what these guys could do every single week, knowing that they're coming into a race like this, getting something special. I really like that Brandon Pierce, what he's got there. That's a very nice color combination. But yeah, no, this is going to be a really exciting race. We've gone 11 laps clean here. We've seen a couple 3 wides, but everything seems to be shaking out very smoothly so far. So I'm very interested to see who's going to be able to hold on to those tires, because like you said, there's been a few cars here that have been forced up on that higher line, and you don't want to be there early. But now we're starting to see a couple of these cars kind of able to just hang out where they want to hang out. So maybe we'll see a little bit less tire deg and a little bit more, action in the pit lane further on.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of action in the pit lane. Speaking of the pit lane, Michael, it's going to be interesting seeing these guys get down to pit road. I'm not exactly sure what the league's ruling is on this, and I actually may pop into the admin chat for just a moment here shortly to ask about it, but I believe they may have to use the access road, and if they do, that means they have to peel off the track on the backstretch, go all the way around 3 and 4, down on the apron using this access road. And that is a very slow pit road entry. If they use the access and exit roads all the way around, it's going to be one of the slowest entry to exit times pretty much on the schedule, barring just, I think, one other track. So it's going to be tough. You got to be careful not to lose control of your car down there in the marbles. Do not speed on pit road. Make sure you can find your stall. These guys are going to have a bit of a challenge on hand when it comes to these green flag stops.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be a very challenging issue there. As we see, there's a blue cone coming out of the access road, coming out of turn 2 there, so it looks like it is going to be stretching around quite a bit. And we do have a caution out. We're going to go ahead and see what's going on here. That is Nolan Hodgson involved here in this accident. And the number 4.
Chad Edwards.
Okay, yep, we're going to have to see if we can get a replay on that. Not really sure what happened there, but Nolan Hodgson looks like he's got quite a bit of damage. There's quite a bit of smoke coming off the rear end of that car.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. We got another look at it here, courtesy of James up in the producer's box. Looks like Nolan just got a little bit loose on his own, nosed it into the wall really hard. Patrick Muchet with a close call. Number 9 Machine with a hard hit. And then there's Chad Edwards. I'm assuming he was trying to make an evasive maneuver and just took it a little bit far, but unfortunately, sometimes you can do more damage to yourself avoiding a wreck than otherwise. So let's ride along with number 4 here, Chad Edwards. Let's take a look. It's all going to be happening right in front of him, so keep your eye on that left-hand side of the screen as he's coming out of the corner. He dives down. Okay, I see now. The 9 car actually blocked his path, and he tried to dart it back up the track. But we've seen it a lot, Michael, with this car. When you try to rapidly shift your weight or the angle of that car, it doesn't like it, and it breaks loose like that. So unfortunately, hard into the outside wall for Chad Edwards.
Yeah, you got to be really careful there, especially in a situation like that where he tried to take the bottom line, but it was obviously blocked. He didn't have any place to go. He didn't have a choice. He had to overcorrect, and that just lost the rear end on him. He had nothing that he could really do in that situation. So it's really unfortunate for him, but we'll hope that he didn't take too much damage. It did look like a pretty tough hit to the wall.
So I stepped away for just a moment there. I wanted to ask the admins to confirm whether or not they had to use the access road. So some leagues do mandate it. iRacing itself does not mandate it, but some leagues do. This league does not. According to Kevin, I asked him, and he said, nope, under green, you can dive down pretty much last second if you want to, and they're going to be able to do that. So that itself actually poses a bit of a challenge because that access road pretty much stretches all the way to the entry of pit road, as well as a little bit of grass there. So to dive down and get in under green is still going to be tough. But under caution, well, we got a lot of guys coming down pit road. We got Chad Edwards getting some damage fixed on that machine. The number 40 who was involved in that looks like he's getting some damage repaired there on pit road. And I got to wonder, Michael, how much damage is there on that number 4? Because it is absurd how good that car looks right now. I mean, I can barely but we both watched him nose into the wall at Mach 1.
Yeah, no, that definitely looked like a way harder hit, but I'm not seeing any damage at all. He looks like he's got full control of that car, so maybe he just got lucky there. Maybe he was able to slow down just enough and that safer barrier just gave a little bit. Now, you got to imagine there's some sort of damage there. I know you've discussed it a few times, the cumulative damage, so he's going to definitely have to take it easy for the rest of the race here, but great for him if he's able to come out of this relatively unscathed, especially with that hard of a hit.
Yeah, sometimes the damage gods smile upon you and the netcode of the game just kind of doesn't really register how hard of a hit it was, and that may be what's going on with Chad. So we'll keep an eye on him, but it looks like through all of the position shuffling and swapping going on, Lucas Hoytsma has maintained the lead over Dicciani. We've got Anderson still in third, Hutchison there in fourth, Blake Giglio in fifth, and again, Blake Giglio not necessarily in a must-win like Hutchison, so he could point his way in, so you kind of expect him to maybe drive with a level of caution, a level of respect, whereas Hutchison, man, he's got no choice but to win this thing, so he's going to be aggressive on this restart, I'm sure of it, as the lights go out on the pace car, I believe. Should just be going around one more time, but it's going to be aggression from all around. One standout that I'm kind of surprised to see as far up as they are right now is Hammond. So Chris Hammond was away from the league for a while. I believe he raced back in 2020, and for the majority of 2021 he was absent. So a familiar face, though he was gone for a while, and as he's come back to the league, gotten approved through the Division 2 up into the full-fledged 100% Cup Series, showing that he's got some speed under the hood of that number 17. Pretty cool to see. Another driver I want to point out real quick before we go green is Cam Stone in the number 57. He's all the way back in 17th. Now, he was knocked out of the playoffs pretty early on, which was unexpected given that he is a former league champion back in 2020, but also, he texted me before this race, and he said, expect me to do some crazy expletives that I can't say on air. And so I'm going to be watching, throughout the race. We'll keep an eye on him. I'm expecting some crazy stuff, almost as crazy as what the pace car just did with that 90-degree corner he made. Green flag is out in the air, and Lucas Hoytsma is out and away with a phenomenal start. Look at that, 5 car lengths. He's just about got his second place car off the screen of our blimp cam. What a jump for him out back. They've single filed behind him. Matt Dicciani's second. Robert Anderson is third. Anderson has a little bit of pressure from Hutchison and Giglio as well. Then you got to go all the way back to about Derek Heitman before we get some 2 and 3 wide action. These guys still in a bit of a hornet's nest behind our leaders, trying to sort that out and get to the bottom. And I think it is going to be really important, Michael, for these guys to sort out where they're going to be and just try to get to the bottom. Because if they kill their tires, I think this mile and a half right here is probably the most aggressive on the tires. Second, probably only to Old Atlanta. It's been really rough with this tire model. It's not really that way in real life necessarily, But with this tire model, it has been super, super crazy how much fall off they get with the tire wear. So if you're one of these drivers like Chris Hammond stuck on the high side here that you see on your screen, well, you're killing your tires. And one more question that I'm kind of having in my mind here, Michael, is they're in no doubt in my mind. They pit it on, if they pit that time, which a lot of these drivers didn't. The guys who pitted still pitted on lap 18 out of 80 for the stage. So we're going to have some drivers coming in right at the tail end of the stage, which is really going to shuffle up that running order. And then you got these guys who did stay out, like Hoytsma, I believe he did not pit. So we're still looking at some strategy going forward.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very, very challenging strategy call here, as you say, with these tires falling off the way they are. Hoytsma able to run whatever line he wants with those monster acceleration points out of the restarts there. So I don't think Hoytsma's too concerned at the moment. He's looking pretty strong. I'm not sure how long they're able to really stretch these tires out, as I was unable to get any practice, and I actually purchased this map or this track right before our league race tonight. So I don't have any real experience with the tire model on this track, so I'm gonna have to default to you on that one. But yeah, no, the strategy is definitely going to be a challenging call tonight if we stay under green, especially with these cars getting up high like that and just running their tires down. So I'm not sure if we stay under green that these cars are going to be able to last to the end of this first stage at lap 80.
And I've got a theory. Again, I haven't driven too much on this track, but I have a theory that the setups are pretty temperamental for whatever reason here, because I've heard a few drivers say things like, when I get on a long run, man, my car just gets undrivably loose. And then as soon as somebody says that, you got another driver saying, wait a minute, you're getting loose? My car is plowing tight on the long run. So I was hearing a lot of mixed messages as to what this track was doing in terms of handling. And I think it comes down to just minute changes in the setup. Again, this is an open setup league. And so these drivers are free to make whatever changes they really wish to make within the realms of legality as far as the iRacing simulator is concerned. And given some of the names involved in this league, teams and drivers that are involved with the Coke Series, a lot of the setups that are in this league have a lot of man hours and a lot of effort put into them. So they're not exactly your average pay-to-win setups. There's something a little bit more.
We see Anderson going really high there. I know we've been talking about tire degradation, that higher line not being the one for choice, but maybe with his setup, that higher line just is a little bit easier on the tires. He's definitely got some speed. He's able to really put a little bit of a gap here on Blake Iglio now, making a little bit of a dent here coming into DiTiani. But yeah, I'm a little surprised at the gap between these two different setup choices, or not two different setup choices, but the gap between the setup choices, where you have some cars that are just undrivable, as you said, and then some cars just stay too tight. It's crazy how little tiny details can just change the long run so much. It's really impressive the amount of time that these setup guys really put into these. I know there's a lot of teams out there that work together. They have specific setups that are done within the team and done by basically professionals for iRacing. In my opinion, it's really impressive what they do here, as we see Ralph Hutchison is going to the outside on Lucas Hoytsma, taking that first spot away.
Nearing some contact there, but very respectful between the two. They're going to navigate 1 and 2 still alongside one another. Now the 54, he may be able to carry some more speed on that high line, despite the fact that it is wearing out those tires. He's going to carry some speed up there, which means he'll have a run into the next corner. Now, as they enter 3 and 4, expect Hoytsma to close that gap a little bit more down on the bottom, but actually as he gets a little bit squirrely, the 54 is able to gain more of an advantage, and as they come out of the corner, Lucas is going to get cleared by the 54. New leader in a must-win situation. Ralph Hutchison in that 54 takes the point.
Yeah, Ralph Hutchison is definitely out there for blood tonight. He's got to take a win. Also, he's fallen back a little bit, but Alex Murray needs to take a win. He's fallen out of the top 20 earlier. He was up in the top 10. Not looking so hot for him right now, but Ralph Hutchison really just being dominant right now, trying to do everything he can to stay in this championship. He is sitting there back too far and really needs to make a move here. Really needs not just a couple stage wins, but as you said, he needs to win the overall race tonight to be able to go to Phoenix.
Yeah, and what a story that would be if he did win and get that ticket to Phoenix. That would be one of the biggest redemption arcs, I think, of the entire season. Now, another thing I'm noticing, we've been green for about 10 laps or so. And if you look at that mini map on the top right of the screen, you're seeing we're still pretty bunched up. A lot of drivers still together, not a whole lot of separation yet. Of course, that's going to change the further we get into this run, but that's just right now making this just that much more difficult for these guys. Anytime you've got traffic behind and front next to you, you feel like you're boxed in. You really got to watch those inputs, be aware of your surroundings. It is taxing on a driver. You kind of just wish you could get out in your own little world, not have anybody around you. But look at this, the 96 with a almost textbook move, getting down to the bottom of the 16. He faked high, went low, got down to the door, and now he's got the preferred line through the corner. Look at that, sailing down on that white line. He's going to take that position from Blake Giglio. Van de Sant up to P6.
Yeah, it was a great move there by Van der Sant, getting that bottom line and able to really just hold on to it. As we see Carl Dodson now coming through, he does have Anderson up above him, but he's starting to be able to pull away a little bit. I wonder if Anderson is starting to lose his tires a little bit earlier than he really wanted to by sticking through that high line. Carl Dodson now going to the bottom here, making the move on DiCianni as DiCianni has fallen off pace a little bit. Dodson up into third place.
Yeah, that was a great move by the number 2, Carl Dodson. He's run a few races here in the league, and I'm not exactly sure what his statistics are as a driver in this league, but I will say I don't remember him being up on the podium too often, so finding some speed in that number 2, having a good night, that's always good to see. We always like to see new faces up front, and that's one of the great things about this league is, sometimes drivers who you never really gave much thought or that maybe just weren't the quickest before, they find something in the setup, they put in the hours, they just get better as a driver, and then they find their way to the front. You're always seeing new faces in this league, and it's great to see. Cam Stone, a little bit of a wiggle there. I heard you react to that. He got a little loose, but he was able to gather it up. He is going to slot in front of the number 51. So he's currently running 29th. Not liking this track, Michael. Again, in all of the text that he was sending me, he basically told me he despises this track. It's not that fun to him in this next-gen car. And I don't know. Some people love this track, some people hate it, but right now that 57 is probably hating it.
Yeah, he does not seem to be very happy. He's about 12 places down since our green flag restart there. So definitely having a frustrating night for Cam Stone. The corners here, they're about 18 to 20 degrees. Then we have an almost flat surface going through. So it is kind of a little bit of a different setup than most of your mile-and-a-half tracks. It's kind of got a strange feel to it, kind of almost like a Darlington, I would say. I think you really want to just find the right groove, which generally, if you're going to conserve tires, like you were saying, is down low. It does allow for a few other lines, but as we see, ooh, that is a very loose car up on the top there. You see Alex Princeton here, but yeah, no, that's definitely going to be a challenge for these drivers to stay out of the wall. And oh, that's Bryson Higginball. I wonder if he made contact there with the wall a moment ago. Oh, Demarius Higginbottom, I'm sorry. Looked like he made a little bit of contact and got a little loose there. There we go.
Yeah, not entirely certain. We'll have to see if we can't get a look at the other side of that 00, see if there's any damage on it. But yeah, this track, it's funny. You would think that it would be easier to build setups for this track because a lot of the mile-and-a-halfs we go to aren't very symmetrical. There's nuances to each end of the track. Last week we were at Las Vegas, and of course that track tends to feel a little bit tighter and a little bit bumpier in 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 is a bit more sweeping, a bit more wide open, and not quite as bumpy. So you have that. The other mile-and-a-half that I can think of off the top of my head that's a little bit different at one end than the other is Charlotte. 3 and 4 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the oval, tends to tighten up a lot more than 1 and 2. So for a lot of these mile-and-a-halfs, you kind of have to choose what end of the track do I want to build the car to be fast at, and you're always sacrificing speed somewhere because you can't set up a car for multiple tracks at once, essentially, or multiple corners at once. But this track is unique in the fact that it pretty much is symmetrical. Barring minor, and I mean unnoticeable differences, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 drive relatively the same. which means you can set up the car to be good in both corners, and you'd think that would make it easier on the setup builders, but just how difficult this car has been to drive in and of itself is such a challenge that just getting it to handle is their goal when it comes to this setup anywhere on the track, let alone 1, 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter. They've all been struggling, and that's what I've been hearing. But I don't know, Homestead's a bit of a different beast, and some drivers are going to rise to the top, and we'll see what happens. We do have a lead change, by the way, I should point out. Carl Dodson in the number 2 has taken the point with Alex Van de Sant in tow. I apologize for missing that when it happened. I'm not exactly sure how it transpired, but Dodson himself now is under fire, may be losing the lead as the number 96 has a fantastic run in that Mustang down the straightaway. Now let's see what they do through 1 and 2. What is that 96 doing to get these good runs? Well, he's entering up high, and he's almost diamonding it in a way. He enters up high, drives it down the banking, and then he's just going to arc it back towards the middle of this straightaway, and that's what's giving him a big run. Carl's entering a little bit lower, so he can't really drive down the banking and gain that momentum. And there it is, another change for the lead. The 96, Alex Van de Sant, coming off a win a few weeks ago, is trying to do it again.
Yeah, Alex Van de Sant, we've seen him making a couple moves here, up into first place now. Absolutely stunning racing here. He's had some amazing, moves. But his line through this track, like you said, almost kind of a diamond there. It just gives him so much more of a stronger acceleration out of the turns, and it allows him to really choose his line coming down the straight to get to like the inside line coming into 3 and 4. So he's been able to really use that to his advantage to make these passes. As we see, Hutchison has fallen back a little bit. Matt Long starting to really come on right now. He fell back a little bit, but now back up into 4th place. We see Hoytsma has fallen back into 5th. So it looks like Matt Long has got a car set up for these medium to long green runs here. So he should be definitely making a charge here as we see Van der Sant up into 1st, Dodson in 2nd, and Matt Long now up into 3rd place.
And I think we're finally seeing the tire wear come to effect. Ralph was one of those drivers that you and I pointed out earlier, Michael, was using the high line more often than not. He even used the high line to make that pass for the lead. And now that may be coming back to haunt him as he is just kind of dropping through the running order. And you can see a lot of drivers that were hugging the bottom and preserving, well, they're just a little bit faster. And again, for the viewers at home who are maybe unfamiliar with oval racing, this isn't road racing where to substantially gain or lose, you've got to be half a second or a second faster. These lap times are so short that if somebody's just a 1/10 of a second faster per lap, which really equates to maybe 2-3% on your tire wear, which is minuscule, that's gonna add up. They're gonna pull away lap after lap, 1/10 here, 1/10 there. If they're a 10th faster for 10 laps, well, there you go. They're a second ahead. So you gotta preserve, you gotta be careful. Otherwise, you might do what Hutchison did this stint, and you might just burn up your tires.
Yeah, you really got to be careful with a lot of these road courses that these drivers do see. You have opportunities to make those 10s up in different corners. Here on these ovals, you don't have that opportunity. You have to be perfect with your line throughout the entire lap, or you're going to just continually add up and lose time as we see a couple cars here going too wide here into the turn. Chad Sanner here in the 59. Able to keep that position. We got Damaris Hickenbottom coming through. Let's see if we got Colin Ammon running the top line here. We got a couple cars up in the top line here. So we're going to go ahead and just see how everybody's doing so far. Right now, Van der Sant has kept the lead, but Matt Long has passed Dodson, putting Matt Long into 2nd place. So definitely a strong run so far here for Matt Long. It looks like he's been able to really conserve those tires, and his car is set up for the longer runs here.
Yeah, Matt Long, he's a pretty solid driver. We've seen him get some really good results in the past, and my memory is not that great, so I could be wrong, but I remember a few races where Matt Long struggled on the long run, and a few races where he really excelled at it. But what I remember is that when he did get it right, when he did have a good long run setup, he really got it right, and he was bar none the fastest car on a long stint. So if that's what he's done today, which is kind of what it's looking like, man, he could absolutely be a threat. He could punch that ticket, get himself a win, lock himself into Phoenix, not have to worry about Martinsville, and that's a really big thing, Michael. Martinsville is, for the viewers at home who maybe don't know, it is a madhouse. Okay, I know that's the nickname we've given to Bowman Gray, but Martinsville is difficult. It's a very narrow track, a very short track, and there is generally a lot of attrition. You see a lot of contact, a lot of wrecks, and if you're a playoff driver and you're on the points bubble, there is nothing more nerve-wracking than having to go to a short track like that. So if you can get that lock into Phoenix and not worry about that place, what a relief that is. But we do have the number 11, Robert Anderson, coming down pit road. Now, this is kind of what, more or less what I was expecting to see, although a little bit later than I think I might have been initially planning, because we're on lap 47. And I was thinking, Michael, these guys might just split this stage in half, come down lap 40, and then go all the way to lap 80. But lap 46 before we've gotten our first real entrance down pit road.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how long these leaders can hold it out, because that's just going to give them the advantage later on in this run, obviously. But yeah, Matt Long making the pass here, staying down to the bottom on Alex van der Zandt, up into first place here. I'm really interested to see when these championship contenders start coming in, because that's going to give us, our first real idea on how tire wear is really coming through. But we know Robert Anderson was running that high line, so we expected him to wear those tires out a lot sooner. So I'm kind of not surprised to see him come through first. But we'll see how these other front runners are going to hold on to their tires. I think Ralph Hutchison might be coming in soon, just because we've seen him really wear on those tires. He has moved back up into third place, but I think he's starting to lose a little bit of pace here.
I think we're going to see a frenzy coming onto pit road here. I'm hearing a few drivers on the radio say they're going to be coming in. Patrick Muchet put in the text chat for the session that he'll be coming down pit road. So going to be a busy place down on pit road. The teams are going to be scrambling to get these cars back out on track. Matt Long is still in the lead. There's Patrick Muchet right there, just barely squeaking into the pit stall there. Normally you got to worry about drivers overshooting, but it almost looked like he undershot that for a second, as we're kind of following along with Tanner Marty here in that 29 machine. But I tell you what, I said before, if Matt Long has a long run setup, he generally is far and away the fastest car on these long stints. That's what he's showing us right now. Tell you what, though, Michael, real quick, let's diverge from this. We do have a driver in the infield care center, Nolan Hodgson. Let's bring him up. Nolan Hodgson, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Nolan, unfortunately, early end to your night, it would seem. First of all, are you going to be able to get the car back out there, or is it done?
Yeah, it's pretty totaled. I'm not going to be able to get it back out there.
Now, it looked like when that all happened, your car just kind of snapped around on you, and it kind of caught you off guard, which is something we've seen the car do to a few drivers tonight, maybe to a lesser extent. But what was the car driving like out there? Was it just kind of evil handling?
Yeah, pretty much. I was starting to notice once I get into the corners, once I kind of like sat in the corner, I don't know if there was like bumps in the middle of the corner there, but the car just sort of bouncing around and getting loose and whatnot. So I was kind of handling like that for about 5 or 6 laps at that point. And I just got to the point where it just barely touched the apron, and then it was, next thing I know, I'm head first into the wall.
Yeah, again, very unfortunate. Michael, any questions or anything for Nolan before we let him go?
Yeah, that's just an unfortunate incident there. You got loose, and then you also had somebody else come up behind you and hit you as well. But yeah, so you said you think it's done for the day. That's unfortunate. Nobody wants to see that. What are you expecting for next week at Martinsville?
He's expecting to see nothing.
Nolan, you got to.
All right, we'll give it one more try. Nolan, you still got a copy, bud?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so Michael just asked, we're moving to Martinsville next week. Are you looking forward to that track? What are you expecting? A little bit of technical difficulties. We'll give them just a minute here as we have a flurry coming down pit road. Matt Dicciani, Blake Giglio.
All right, I should be back.
Did you hear me now? Nolan, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Just wondering, next week, Martinsville, what are you expecting for next week?
Next week, there's definitely going to be a lot of entertainment going on. Just cut off race for a lot of the fast guys out there going for that, Final Four. I'm excited for it personally because I like to think that I'm pretty good at that track. So a lot of excitement, a lot of your typical Martinsville short track excitement should be good. Should be fun to watch.
Nolan, thank you for joining us today. Unfortunate for your incident, but hopefully you'll have a great race next week, and good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Nolan Hodgson out of the booth there, and a little bit of technical difficulty, but yeah, car just kind of got away from him, Michael. And honestly, I'm going to be real here, and I'm not trying to undermine the skill of these drivers on track. I'm surprised Nolan's the only one who's looped around like that so far, because with everything I've heard from the drivers leading up to this race, these cars are evil out here. So the fact that they've really, for the most part, kept it pretty well organized for 56 laps, pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been impressive. Going to go ahead and give a shout out here to YouTube chat. We haven't done that yet. I'm going to go back a little bit. We got David Allen in the chat from a little bit earlier. Let's go, Blake Giglio. Let's go, baby. Blake Giglio, I should say. We got Sean Timmerman. Come on, baby. And then we got some guy named Biggles. You have a great night out there. We have not seen anybody go 4 wide. We've seen quite a bit of 3 wide, but no 4 wide, Biggles. And we also have a poll up in chat there. What's your favorite driver livery? So James is going to let us know when that's going to come down. But go ahead and give yourself a vote there, and we'll see how everybody feels. But right now we're riding along here with Alexander Russell, the 86 car, back in 6th place right now. We've seen quite a few cars come down pit lane, but our lead pack has yet to pit, so this is still going to be quite an interesting green flag strategy here as we come up lap 58, almost to lap 60, about 22 laps left in this first stage.
Yeah, we are really winding down to the end of it. 20 more laps in the stage, like you said, and it looks like through all of the pit sequence, everything that happened there, the running order didn't get shuffled up that much. We've still got Matt Long out in the lead according to the timing and scoring. Van de Sant cycled out second. Michael Christopher is running third, which we didn't really mention him, but he was running in the top 5 before all this green flag action on pit road, so kind of maintaining his position. One driver who's a little bit further up than he was before, Brandon Pierce in the number 38. He's gained a few positions, and I do believe he has pit, so that is a position he will keep. Not bad, running up inside the top 5. Russell in the 86 behind him. Not sure if he's pit or not, but I know that Dodson, Hicksenbaugh, Brinson, these guys, I believe, have come down pit road. So we are pretty much done with the pit road cycle. There might be
Have we had our leaders come down?
I believe Matt Long and Van de Sant have they not?
Okay, yep. No, I apologize. I missed that. I hadn't seen the leaders come through yet, so I was still under the impression that they still needed to pit. But yeah, like you said, we are done with the pit cycle now.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. It is really hard to keep track of sometimes. When these guys come down pit road, you never really know. When you're trying to talk and keep track of everything, trust me, I have lost track of pits more times than I can count. But Matt Long is still in the lead. Playoff driver, kind of showing these guys the way around Homestead. He says, come on, guys, this is how you do it.
Yeah, Matt Long is just having a great race out there. Absolute different. We see Princeton coming through here, kind of close there. Able to get out of that situation. Trevor Ryan getting in the way there, a back marker. So, oh, he's unlapping himself. Oh, I'm sorry. James is giving me a little bit of notes here in my ear. Trevor Ryan unlapping himself, but we see Matt Long there. Van der Sant up in first. Matt Long in first place. Van der Sant in second. And as you said, Christopher in third place. He's been quietly having a solid race so far, up into the top 5. Currently in third place. It's been a really interesting pit cycle here because earlier on we had quite a few of those championship drivers up in the top 10. Now we only have Matt Long and Bryson Hicksenbaugh.
Yeah, Bryson Hicksenbaugh, I'm a little surprised by where he's running. I just kind of want to mention that. This is a track that kind of seems right up his alley. He likes a loose car. He likes a track that's tough to drive. And generally, when the car is tough to drive, he's the guy up there on the podium or maybe even leading the way. So to see him just inside the top 10 there in 7th seems like he's just struggling to figure that car out. And another thing to mention too is I don't expect the track conditions to change that much throughout the day. So whatever these guys have in terms of setup is what they're going to have. You know, if they got a 10th place car, you can't really rely on the sun to come down and cast some shade on the track or some clouds to roll over. It's pretty much more or less going to remain the same. So if you want to figure this car out, the only thing you can really do is maybe make some brake bias adjustments, make some pit road adjustments, but kind of limited in what you can do. And these guys, if they're not liking their car now, they're going to have a hard time later.
Yeah, it's definitely there's little changes they can do, but yeah, if they miss their setup window, then they're kind of locked in for where they are. We just saw momentarily ago the O2 car. Was that the O2 car? Yeah, the Caterpillar unlapping itself around Matt Long here. So we're seeing quite a few cars that are a little later in the pit cycle, getting a little bit more speed and able to come back through the order and get their laps back. So this is definitely going to be quite an interesting race throughout here, especially if we stay green up until the stage end here. But yeah, dealing with a lot of traffic, a lot of cars that are just kind of mixed up and all over the place right now. As we see Bryson Hixenbaugh up into 5th place now, so it looks like he is starting to get a handle on that car. He's starting to come to him a little bit.
Yeah, and it could be that he made some pit road adjustments there, and he is kind of picking up some speed. Could just be that maybe he wasn't showing his cards too early. Who knows?
So we see we're following here with Carl Dotson. Dotson was up into 2nd place. I believe he actually might have led a lap or two earlier, but falling back into 7th place after all the pit cycle here. He's hanging on to the rear end of Princeton. Alex Princeton is getting away a little bit from him, and it looks like Alex Princeton is jumping on the back here of Bryson Hixenbaugh. He's going to try the outside line and see if he can get a move done in the next couple laps.
Yeah, we've seen that outside line used to some success. Again, Ralph Hutchison actually made a pass for the lead early on in this race up there, so we know it can be used. And that's one of the nice things about Homestead is that it is a fairly multi-groove track, and it seems like no matter how hard iRacing tries to mess that up, they really can't. Every tire model, every iteration of the car that we've had here always seems to be pretty multi-groove. Again, right now, racing up high does come at a cost, but it's still something you can do. It is viable. And so we're getting situations like this where you got the number 9 just running, I would say, middle of the track right there in between the two seams, using it to gain some speed coming out of the corner. And also, he can get his car into clean air. You know, anytime you can make sure you don't follow the car in front of you, if you can stick your nose a lane up or a lane down, the car feels like a different car. And I want to really stress that for the viewers at home who may not understand. These cars are bricks. They are pregnant dump trucks on ice. They disturb the air massively. And so when you're following that car and you're putting yourself in that turbulent air, it affects how your car handles by proxy. Whereas if you're not behind somebody and you've just got that still air relatively that you're kind of cutting through, that's what the car is designed for. That's what the setup is built for. And it is ideal in that situation. So when you have a multi-groove track and you're not stuck in dirty air 24/7, that is a huge asset these drivers can use.
Yeah, it definitely is a great asset that they can use. The unfortunate thing is the higher that they go up on the groove, like we said earlier and we've discussed that. Ooh, I saw a car getting a little sideways there. I think he was able to save it though. Yeah, RJ Root getting quite sideways there, but is able to keep it under control. Had to dip down on the apron, but is still going, still doing okay. That's not going to help his tire wear, but he's able to keep it out of the wall, so that's good and dusted. But yeah, no, when you go up in that higher groove, you're able to, you know, kind of use that clean air and not only keep your airflow going, you know, smoother, but like also keeping your temperatures and everything down on the car. These cars are a bit, you know, I don't want to say they don't like to run too hot for too long. That's for sure. So sometimes when you're up too close for a while, that kind of gets your engine temperatures and your oil temperatures a little too hot. But being able to use those multiple grooves definitely helps with quite a few different aspects. That being said, it's going to come back to it multiple times tonight, and I think it's going to be a huge talking point for the rest of the evening, is when you get up on that higher line, that's when you really start to see that tire wear come into play. That's when you really have to worry about that. That being said, we're 9 laps away from coming to the end of this first stage, and we're going to see how many of these drivers are able to take advantage of that higher line while they have the opportunity and can come in for basically a free pit stop here at the end of the stage. As we see, Bryson Hicksonbaugh is still under pressure here from Princeton. I've seen a couple times coming through the midsection of the corner that Bryson is getting a little loose. As Ralph Hutchison makes a dive down to the bottom here on Alex. Able to get the job done, but Bryson's going to block that lower line. Is Ralph going to be able to stay? Ralph is going to go for a double move, 2 cars in 1 turn. What a move by Ralph Hutchison. Needs to get himself back up to the front of the field here. That was an amazing move there.
That man said, "Get out of my way, I got points to get." And that is exactly what he's doing. You don't often see a double overtake at a track like this. You especially don't see a double overtake where the guy then proceeds to drive, 10 car lengths away in the next corner. He's flying right now. I don't know if he's got just massively fresher tires, if he was just focusing on conservation, or what the situation is there. Maybe he pitted a little bit later than some of these other guys, but he is on the move all the way up into 5th. Got a bit of a gap to Michael Christopher. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get there by the end of the stage, but in his benefit here is the fact that Michael Christopher may be soon in a battle with the 38 of Brandon Pierce. These two have been pretty close in pace, and if they get to battle and if they get side by side, that is going to be a huge help to Hutchison. He can just kind of run them down and maybe see if he can make another double overtake. We'll have to wait and see. We've got about 6 to go in the stage.
Yeah, right now I'm showing on my timing tower that Hutchison is a little over 4 seconds behind. So with about 6 laps to go, I don't think he's going to be able to make up that distance there. But that being said, he is definitely flying through this field right now. He has definitely got that car locked up and ready to go. So it's going to be a strong finish here in the top 5 if he can hold it here. But definitely going to give him, a little bit more fuel to add to the fire to get up to the front of the field for the rest of the race here.
Absolutely. And we've got some battles going on track here. Jeff Hooper trying to maybe make something happen on that number 11 of Robert Anderson. Anderson very fast early on in this race. We've seen him really contend for a podium. Now he's kind of fallen a little bit further back in the running order. That pit sequence was none too kind to him. And he is under fire from Paget here, trying to maybe make something happen down on the bottom. And Anderson's another driver, Michael, that we've seen pretty much all night long running the top. It really seems like he only goes to the bottom out of necessity if he has to get away from somebody. Otherwise, he's really loving that high line. He does get a lot of speed in the short term, but I got to wonder if his dedication to that high line isn't why he's currently running 13th and just kind of slipping down the running order from where he was at the beginning.
Yeah, he was the first person that we saw come down pit lane. So that high line is definitely, a battle of attrition there. He just seems comfortable on that line. He just seems like that's just where he wants to put his car. So I guess that's just what the setup is that he has. That is just going to continue to, abuse those tires all night long. And even though he's up 10 positions right now, just outside of the top 10, I find it to be, kind of detrimental to his long-term race here. As we see Blake Giglio on the bottom here of Cam Stone trying to make a move. Blake Giglio in 17th, Cam Stone currently in 16th. Giglio does have the bottom line here. We'll see if he's able to make the pass here coming through 3 and 4.
And
that's Derek Heitman. I apologize.
If Blake Giglio could get himself some stage points, that would be really big. Again, he is in a position where he could technically point his way in as they go 3 wide for just a moment. But it looks like he is not going to be in position to grab those stage points. Again, 1 through 10 at the end of the stage here on lap 80 are going to grab themselves some bonus points. And the current playoff drivers in position to take advantage of those points: Matt Long in the lead, Ralph Hutchison in 3rd, Lucas Hoytsma P6, and Bryson Hicksonbaugh in 7th. Blake Giglio is all the way back in 16th, so it doesn't look like he'll be salvaging any stage points in this stage, which is not good for his hopes to making it to Phoenix. We'll have to follow along, see what he can do in stage 2, but right now just struggling with that number 16, which is a far cry from what I had heard. Talking to Blake and kind of listening to the team before this race, it seemed like they were really confident in their setup, and so to see him running back here closer to mid-pack is kind of surprising. 2 to go on the stage, though.
Yeah, and we know that Blake Giglio's definitely got the pace to be up front, so it must be setup related, unless he's just not comfortable tonight on this track. So we follow Robert Anderson again. just sticking to that high line. So that's just where he wants to be, but he's losing pace. He's wearing his tires down. I just, at some point, you think that he's got to kind of realize, hey, this isn't working for me tonight. I got to change my strategy a little bit as we're on lap 80, so we will be coming to the stage in here momentarily. Ralph Hutchison up into second place. We missed something there. Ralph Hutchison is up into second place.
Man, oh man. Again, a man on a move. I don't think he's going to be able to get to Matt Long, but getting all the way up to second just shows how fast he is, and he should afford himself a pretty good starting position on this restart for stage 2, barring a bad pit stop. But once the top 10 cross the line for lap 80, we should see the competition caution. The points will be handed out as they run. Everybody will be able to come down pit road, get those cars serviced. And in the meantime, looks like there's a bit of a delay to get this caution out. Lap 81, be on lap 82 shortly. There it is. There's the yellow flag. Top 10 for the stage: Matt Long, Ralph Hutchison, Alex Van de Sant, Brandon Pierce, Lucas Hoitzma, Michael Christopher, Sean O'Brien Jr., Bryson Nixonbaugh, Alex Princeton, and Mark Paget in the number 02 machine. Is going to sneak into the top 10 by just a hair, and that'll be your stage. So now, Michael, these guys can get these cars serviced, and I got to wonder if any of these guys are going to maybe make some tire pressure adjustments to lend themselves to the long run, because now we know something that we didn't know going into this race. And we know that the trend is leaning towards long green flag runs. We had one caution, I believe it was on lap 17 or 18, so quite some time ago. And ever since then, it's been green. It's been a very calm race, not a whole lot of aggression. So does that kind of change how you set this car up and what your approach is to kind of lean into that long strategy?
Yeah, we saw that caution relatively early in the race. We haven't seen very much aggression, like you said, since then. It's pretty much everybody's going to be coming into the pit lanes now. Makes sense. We see Matt Long leading basically the entire field into the pits. But that being said, I think you're right. I think you're going to see some of these cars take a little bit of a pressure adjustment to kind of lean towards those longer runs, because, I mean, the only true, real aggressive driving we've seen so far, up in the front of the field at least, has been Ralph Hutchison, just absolutely blowing through the field. But he is a man on a mission. He's got to be up front there. So that's why we've seen it from him.
Yeah, basically everybody on the lead lap that can pit came down pit road. We're going to see how this all cycles out. Ralph Hutchison, I believe, just assumed the lead over Matt Long. He had a faster pit stop and beat him to the line. So we have a new leader in Ralph Hutchison ahead of his former teammate Matt Long. Alex Van de Sant was third to the pit road line ahead of Lucas Hoitzma. So a little bit of a shuffle here, and now we've got Ralph back out in clean air, which I think is going to be a huge benefit with how difficult these cars have been to handle, especially in a pack. Ralph having nothing but clean track in front of him is going to be huge. Now, I believe, and I could be wrong here, again, I'm looking at timing and scoring, which may be outdated. The Lucky Dog recipient for this run is going to be Jason Baker. He should get his lap back for free, and then everybody else behind him, Alexander Russell, Jason Taylor, these guys are one lap down. They are eligible for a waiver round if they don't pit, although given where the cautions have landed, they're pretty much guaranteed to pit. So that's where that all lies. Lights are still on the pace car, so we're going to go around another time before they shut off. But yeah, bit of a development there with a new leader, Michael.
Yeah, Ralph Hutchison, just amazing pit stop time there. Right now I'm showing on my timing screen a 14.67, almost a full second faster than Matt Long at a 15.55. So that was an incredibly fast pit stop there for Ralph Hutchison. Maybe there might have been a fuel difference or something, but definitely able to take advantage of the pit lane. And that is just going to be crucial for this restart here, with Hutchison really needing the win. So this is putting himself exactly where he needs to be.
Yeah, let's see if we can pull in Matt Long, our stage winner, for just a brief chat. We're going to have to make it quick, as I believe the lights will go off this time. Matt Long, you had a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, Matt. Well, you had one heck of a stage, and it seemed like on the long run, nobody had anything for you. You were the car to beat. How's it feeling out there, man?
Feels pretty good. Yeah, we took tires at that first caution, so that definitely helped, a little strategy. So I don't know how I quite stack up long run, but it does feel pretty good. So we'll see how we do here in stage 2.
Now, do you have any additional concerns now that you used an extra set as opposed to the rest of the field? Is that something you're thinking about, or are you pretty confident we're going to stay green and you're not going to have to really think about using too many tires?
Well, I actually didn't because I didn't pick under green there like everyone else. I just put under that caution. So we're even on tires.
Oh, so you stretched it all the way then?
Yes, sir.
Interesting. That's a pretty far fuel run. All right, well, lights are off on the pace car, and we're going to let you get back to your team, and good luck in this run, man.
I told you, I did not think that he pitted, but
You are right. Correct me.
I did not see him or Vanderzand come in. So I think Vanderzand also waited all the entire, basically the entire run to pit. So as you said, the pace car lights are out, so we're going to see that really sharp 90-degree turn coming from that Mustang here momentarily.
That's interesting to keep in mind, too, because, again, that caution came out on lap 17 or 18, I believe. We went green on somewhere close to 19. They stretched it over 60 laps. that is crazy to me. He really took that thing quite a ways. So now we kind of have an idea of what their fuel run is, courtesy of Matt Long and his kind of off-the-wall strategy, and, again, not really using an extra set of tires necessarily. So
Just wait till the last second.
there goes the pace car, like you said, making an absurd turn to the left, and it is going to be Ralph Hutchison jumping out to a bit of a two-car length lead, and then behind him, look at this aggression out of the 0-7. Lucas Hoytsma pushing Matt Long, trying to say, hey, come on, buddy, let's go. But unfortunately, Matt Long just not having a whole lot of momentum on that start. Lucas is going to abandon him up high, dive down low. Now he's going to try and see what he can do with the 96. He's going to give him a pass. Is he going to try to give him a shove? What is he going to do here? Down on the bottom lane. He's going to stay boxed in for another corner. Sean O'Brien Jr. behind him along with Brandon Pierce. Here we go. Coming out of turn 4. Looks like Lucas is going to get a bit of a run here. Nose to nose as they cross the line for lap 87. They're doing this, Michael. They're battling. They're giving up time here. And in the meantime, Ralph's just kind of driving off into the sunset.
Yeah, Ralph is definitely taking advantage of this battle right here. As Lucas Hoytsma is right on that cusp. He's able to really point himself in. We discussed that earlier a little bit. But if you're Lucas Hoytsma, you really want to get, at the very least, a stage win here tonight. You want to stay up front. We saw him start off really strong and then kind of fade into the back. So I'm not sure if his long runs are just not there, if he was able to make any kind of adjustments to help him out with that. But yeah, Lucas Hoytsma definitely really needs to. Yep, we got 3 wide here coming through. Matt Long losing out there on the high side. We see Matt Long kind of falling back a little bit. I'm not sure if maybe he's just getting his car, into that long run stretch, starting off a little slower, and then he's going to be able to come on strong. You were mentioning just how long that pit length was, about 63 laps there that he was able to stretch his car. Not only was he able to stretch it, but he was able to stretch it with a solid pace the entire time. So that was a very impressive stint there by Matt Long.
Yeah, I don't really think, judging by his driving or his inputs, that he was really conserving at all. So he's pretty much flat out for all 63 laps, which is kind of crazy to think about. And I guess that does make sense. It is a mile and a half. So I don't know. I always just expect him to be a little bit closer to, I would say, 60 laps, and even then kind of saving. But Robert Anderson up in P9 now, so he's gained a little bit through this pit sequence and still rocking that high line. He's one of the few drivers just absolutely dedicated to it. I mean, even when there's nobody else around, when he has no reason to run up there, that's where he seems to be comfortable. And it makes sense. Homestead in real life is generally considered a high line track. That's where you want to be. If you're going to be fast, you got to be against that safer barrier. iRacing, it's not exactly like real life, but Robert Anderson's trying to run it like real life.
Yeah, no, watching the Xfinity race earlier, Noah Gragson was just inches from the wall all race long, it seemed like, able to really, use that high line to his advantage, took the win eventually. But yeah, you see here, everybody's kind of sticking to the lower line, sticking to that inside, almost trying to, hold the left side of your tires as long as you can down the apron. But, it's a little interesting that Anderson's just not going away from it, and he's moving up positions now, up into 6th place now.
Now, I want to point out a pass for the lead. Lucas Hoytsma has taken it from Ralph Hutchison. After he got sorted out with his battle, he was able to kind of start driving away from these guys, caught up to Ralph Hutchison, and made the pass pretty quickly. Didn't seem to have to battle too hard for it. Now, Lucas, I think, has been pretty good on the short run so far tonight. We saw him on the initial start all the way back on lap 1. He actually was able to outdrive our pole sitter on that initial start, get out to the lead, and he drove away for a few laps, and then the car seemed to fade, and that's where a lot of the guys behind him started to capitalize, and I'm wondering if we're going to see a repeat of that in this stage, or if maybe with some smart adjustments, he's kind of got that long run figured out, but only time will tell. As Robert Anderson has just gotten around Alex Van de Sant, I believe. He's down 2 since the start of this stint, or the green flag, I believe. So kind of going the wrong way right now, but I think, Michael, that's to be expected. Alex Van de Sant's another driver that seems pretty good on the long run, so on the short run, maybe sacrifice some time here, but get it back later. Yeah,
him and Matt Long are both kind of falling back a little bit, but I wonder if that might just be part of their strategy. We got almost 3 ride. Oh, Bryson Hickson ball up close to the wall there with the 17 and the 20. That's Hammond. Hammond in the 17. Blake Giglio is also involved in all that. As we see, these cars have kind of settled down a little bit. Giglio up, almost touching the wall there, taking that high line, able to get on the outside here of the 28 car and up in the 10th place. But that was definitely a sketchy moment there, as Matt Long is still kind of sitting in the middle of the track, and he has lost positions from 2nd place on the restart all the way back to 9th. So I really think that this might be a little strategy call here. He's trying to kind of conserve for that long run. But that being said, Lucas Hoytsma definitely strong on the short run. Fell off early. He had to have made some sort of adjustments there. Him along with Ralph Anderson, who's now up into 4th place, digging to that high line all race long. Really surprising that he stuck with it, but I wonder if maybe he was able to make some adjustments as well to kind of help him conserve his tires a little bit while sticking to that high line, because he's now starting to pass quite a few drivers up into 4th place. Yeah, Anderson really quick in this stint so far, like you said. Going back to Blake Giglio, though, you got to think he's kicking himself a little bit, because coming into this race 18 points beneath the cut line, that's a very makeable margin in terms of points. He just had 2 really good stages where other playoff drivers weren't really in the stage point bracket necessarily. He could have pointed his way in just on the stages alone going into next week and put himself in a really comfortable position, but unfortunately in stage 1 he did not score any stage points, only to, as soon as that stage is over, immediately get into the top 10 where he would have scored points. So sometimes, you know, fate is a cruel mistress, and it's kind of toying with him, I think, here. But this battle right here is pretty interesting. You got RJ Root in the number 8 machine, and he's getting a little bit squirrely through the corner, Michael. I've seen him a time or two get a little bit loose, and despite getting loose, he's able to keep it corrected, and he's really not losing much time to these guys. So maybe just driving really aggressively, trying to use that bottom. He's got Patrick Mouchet behind him, trying to draft with that number 18. And I like what Patrick's doing right there. You see that little shift right there? He's not trying to help either of these guys get clear of the either. He wants to keep them side by side so that he can actually battle with them. And the 18 is going to concede the position with a relatively slow 1 and 2. Trevor Ryan falling back a position to Mouchet.
Yeah,
but yeah, sometimes
like it looked like the 18 had to back out there.
Yeah, I agree. He kind of had to lift out of it there. But sometimes you'll see that, Michael. You got 2 guys side by side and a guy behind him just trying to keep them that way.
I do want to point out real quick, the poll is going to be finishing up soon if it hasn't already finished. Missed that there for a moment, but we still got a couple more minutes left on that poll, so get all your choices in for your favorite livery. And just want to go ahead and remind everybody to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on the notifications so you know when we go live from here on out. But this has definitely been an exciting race so far. Andre, I'm really impressed with some of these longer runs that we've seen out of some of these drivers.
Yeah, and it has been an exceptionally clean race, I would say. 1 caution back on lap 17. Now we're all the way at lap 100, and we've had the caution for the stage, of course, but only 1 caution for cause. Everything else has been really clean, really calm, and that surprises me. That really surprises me, Michael. You expect to see this kind of racing early on in the season when tensions are low, there's no lap line. But here we are in the round of 8, inching closer to that cutoff line to get to the final 4 at Phoenix, and these guys are still driving pretty level-headed. I mean, you got to respect it, but man, not very typical of this kind of race.
Yeah, no, definitely not very typical, but hopefully we stay green for this entire stint here. We're going to lap 165 for stage 2. So we see Derek Heitman under pressure here from the 29. The 29 is trying to take that low line, Tanner Marty, but having to back out a little bit, and we see just ahead of them, believe that's Matt Long. Yep, Matt Long and Alex Vanderstedt. We saw both of these drivers up towards the front of the field. Both of them have fallen just outside the top 10. Matt Long currently in 10th place. And we see Alex Vanderstedt there trying to stay in touch with him, getting past on the outside there as well. But we see it looks like Matt Long is starting to come to a little bit here. His car is starting to get a little bit quicker. He's starting to be able to really start making a charge here. And it looks like he's going to go take the bottom line on Blake Iglio. Right along here now with Matt DeCiani. DeCiani on the tail of Murray, trying to make that move up into 7th place. And they have Hammond right in front of them. Yep, and we are still following with DeCiani. Let's go back here to Matt Long. It looks like Matt Long is really starting to gain a little bit of pace. If we can go back just one car here, there we go. Yep, so it looks like Matt Long is really starting to gain on this longer run here as we go through. Bryson Hicksonbaugh up in the 10th place, so Blake Iglio has fallen out of the top 10. Unfortunate for Blake, but we should be seeing some movement here. Matt Long taking the outside. We'll see if he's able to get that move done on the outside. We've seen him take a lot of moves to the inside, but he's able to make that outside line work. So Matt DeCiani back in the 9th place. Matt Long starting to move back up into the field, and DeCiani actually giving up that position to Hicksonbaugh. And we're going to jump back up front as Ralph Hutchison has made the move to get up in the 1st place, but Lucas Hoytsma is not letting it go that easily, taking the inside line. He's going to jump right back into 1st place.
And yeah, he's going to battle him for it here on the outside, but it looks like that bottom line is going to prevail once again. So this is interesting. Normally when we see a pass for the lead like that, once the driver gets it, they kind of drive away with it, but Ralph had it in his hands. He had it in his clutches, only to lose it again to Lucas Hoytsma. He's going to have to regroup, try again here on the white line, door to door. He's got the preferred line down on the bottom. Can he get this momentum on corner exit? Looks like they're going to be a dead heat at the line. Lucas getting a slight advantage. Can he get clear from before the corner? No, he can't. Ralph diving it in deep on that white line, and the 07 goes clear to the wall, and I don't think that's going to work, Michael. I think Ralph's going to get clear of him.
Yeah, Ralph is definitely going to get that move done. Mistake there by Lucas Hoytsma going way too high. But he's got a great run down the backstretch here, and he is going to dive. He's got that bottom line open. Not sure if he's going to be able to make it stick here as they come through out of turn 4 here up the front straight. And we're going to jump back here with Mark Paget. Paget is gaining on these two leaders here. So between this battle here, they are starting to lose a little bit of time. But excellent positioning here by Ralph Hutchison, able to kind of block off that lower line and get the job done. You see Hoytsma is trying to come back at him, see if he makes another attempt at a move on this lap or not. Maybe he backs out a little bit.
I like how close these guys are evenly paced here. Again, they're really battling for the lead. None of these drivers seem to have a massive advantage over the other, as 54 just able to get about a car length ahead. A little bit further back, look at this cluster of cars. Bryson Hicksonbaugh, Sean O'Brien Jr., the number 17 machine, Chris Hammond, right behind them. Bryson's going to drop down low, try to get around Sean O'Brien Jr. Sean O'Brien Jr. is going to say, hey, let's go 3 wide. Robert Anderson all the way up top trying to hold his line. And it looks like they're going to stay 3 wide on the straightaway. And the 65 thinks better of it. He backs out.
Yeah, that was a great move there by O'Brien for backing out there in that 3 wide position, because it did not look like it was going to end very well. I want to go ahead and shout out to Bryson Hicksonbaugh for winning the poll for the favorite livery out here. That beautiful livery, the B4 car, absolutely stunning. Definitely has that Miami Vice feel to it. Kind of makes me feel like I'm about to go play some Grand Theft Auto Vice City, to be honest with you.
As long as you're playing the original and not the god-awful remaster.
I never played the remaster, so my memory is always of the original.
That's good. Let it stay that way.
Yeah, I like to keep. Oh, Matt Long getting really loose there. Getting that move done is Alex Murray or Matt Long. They're going to battle out a little bit, but Matt Long got real loose there for a moment. That was a very sketchy moment there for a second there.
Yeah, you know, we've had a lot of sketchy moments, and yet, really, every single time, these guys have kept it going, which is really...
We got James here in our ear telling Andre not to say the wrong thing here, but yeah, you're right, buddy. We've seen quite a few cars. He's gonna pop up to the admin and let him know we're having issues. I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. Is that cool?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, we had some brief technical difficulties there. The internet provider for our producer decided that now was a good time not to operate, but we got it back up and running. James got everything kind of sorted out pretty quickly for us all here. As we have a little bit of contact there. Look at that. Robert Anderson getting a little bit of a nudge there from, what was that, the number 38 machine? Couldn't quite make it out. No, the number 70, Michael Christopher. Those two kind of getting into it, but... didn't really miss a whole lot from the technical difficulties. The leader is still the same. Ralph Hutchison out in front. He's got about 0.8 of a second over Lucas Hoitzma. Bryson Ixenbaugh has moved all the way up to third, and I'd say that's probably the most notable thing we missed there. He's gained a couple positions, and he seems to be liking that 63 car on this long run here, Michael.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's been a strong car the further into this run we go. As we see a couple cars too wide here, we're going to take a look here at Brandon Pierce on the inside of Robert Anderson, and then Trevor Ryan. Trevor Ryan on the 10 car, on the bottom of that 70 car there, Mike Christopher trying to make the move, but now he's going to have a third car coming into it. They're going to go 3 wide down the straight here. That's a 17. And we're going to see what all is going to... Oh, the 17's going to really just send it. Wow.
Man, oh man.
We talked about a double move earlier. That was a quad? 5, 6? How many cars was that the 17 just passed?
A lot.
Oh, man.
He's,
Christopher Hammond.
Yeah, not on the lead lap, so none of that for position. I think he's on fresh tires for some reason. I'm not sure if he had an issue and just came down pit road, but he was able to send it in a lot deeper than these other guys as they are kind of single file now, probably wondering what just happened. How did this guy make that move? But Robert Anderson's still on the high line, and no matter how many times I see this, Michael, I'll still be amazed by it. As Michael Christopher with that 86 machine, those guys so close you couldn't put a piece of paper between them when they exited that turn. And now the 18 trying to maybe run that 11 up the track, but I don't think the 11 minds being run up the track because that's where he's going anyway.
Well, it looks like he got really close to the wall there, so he's going to have to start being really comfortable or really careful with that. He doesn't want to get. That's the problem with that that high line. Is not only is it going to be tearing out your tires, but if you start getting loose and you're on the low line, we see Blake Giglio. Did Blake Giglio just touch the wall? Yeah, he did have a little bit of tap on the rear right, but if you're already on the bottom line, you start getting loose. You have half a track to, kind of give yourself a little bit of room for error there. If you're running the high line up against the wall like that and your tail end gets loose, just like Blake Giglio just did, you're going to tap the wall. And that's just going to compound, the issue over lap after lap after lap. I know these cars, they're able to kind of, take a little bit of damage, but you got to be very careful. And we have 3 wide with 4 cars.
Oh, no.
3 wide. Oh, my goodness. The 86, Alexander Russell on the inside there. You got Trevor Ryan in the middle, and then Anderson on the top line. And this is just getting absolutely insane here with the 46 coming in too, trying to make a move here. 4 wide through the corner, and we have a car going down the apron into the pits. So that was a sketchy moment there for a second.
Yeah, indeed, another sketchy moment. But we do have the pit sequence appearing to kick off here. That's 3 cars in a line coming down pit road, and it kind of makes sense. We're on lap 126. Our stage was on lap 80, so we've gone roughly 46 laps, give or take, which is about how far they went in the first stage before they really started coming down pit road. And then they got another, a little less than 40 laps to the end of the stage here. So just going a little bit past halfway seems to be the ideal strategy for a lot of these guys. The 18 comes down pit road. Bryson Hixenbaugh to the lead as it seems the number 54 has come down pit road as well. 3 wide again.
Ralph Hutchison did jump into the pits. He's the first of the leaders to do so. As we see, like you said, Robert Anderson just staying to the top line. So that's what's causing a lot of these 3 wides is Robert Anderson just kind of refusing to get off of that line. He just, that's where he's comfortable. That's where he wants to be. So that's what's causing a lot of these 3 wides, I think.
Well, power to him. Sometimes you got to go where the other guys aren't. And it takes a heck of a lot of skill. It takes a wheelman to run that wall lap after lap and not be knocking it down. I mean, I think that's really, other than the tire wear, that's a big reason these guys aren't running that line, because it is so risky. Like you said earlier, if you get loose down low, you got half a track to gather yourself up. Up high, no margin for error. But you know what? Robert Anderson doesn't care. He's rocking that high line. That's
just where he's comfortable, living on the edge, I guess. We see Lucas Hoytsma is up into first place. That is... that is Ralph Hutchison behind him, but he is obviously a lap down. He has already gone into the pits, so he is going to be cruising through the field here. We're going to see him, and he's going to get a little bit of help there by the 02, the Caterpillar. But Lucas Hoytsma here, going up into the lead right now. We're going to wait to see how many laps he stays out, but he is definitely going to be losing a little bit of time now that some of these leaders have come in. We see Murray has gone into the pits as well.
Yeah, I think staying out is definitely going to lose him some time, especially given the fact that Ralph Hutchison has already unlapped himself. He's on the lead lap now, so once the leader comes down pit road and takes all that time to get down to speed and stop in his box and everything, Ralph should cycle back out front. The only downside to that will be that he'll be on the oldest tires out of the leaders, given he was the first to pit. But again, he doesn't have that far to go. We're on lap 130 out of 165 in the stage, so having a few lap older tires, I don't think is going to be a huge disadvantage. As here comes Lucas Hoitzma giving up the lead to Dicciani as he comes down pit road to get that car service. There's Ralph. Let's see where he cycles out compared to everybody else. Looks like Giglio currently second, Michael Christopher third. So I'm noticing a lot of the LMM cars kind of running this thing long, as well as Dalton Mobley. Look at that. Dalton Mobley getting up into the top 5 through this pit sequence, at least for the time being, in that 77 machine. So we'll see when he decides to come down. But Giglio still second, Michael Christopher, Dalton Mobley, Chris Hammond. Chris Hammond was numerous laps down earlier when we were watching him make those overtakes, and now he's currently back on the lead lap. So solid recovery thus far for him. But man, oh man, we're seeing a lot more, I would say, shuffling with this sequence than we did the first. Wouldn't you say that, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. But the difference here is we didn't have that early caution like we did in the first stage.
Yeah.
So some of these cars were able to really take advantage of that. Here, they have to stick to that halfway strategy or whatever strategy they had predetermined. That's what's going to stick with them for this second stage, as we see. So it's really going to lend itself to who was able to take advantage of the longer stint here. As we see, Ralph Hutchison looks like he's just nailed his pit strategy. He's on the back here of Hammond, who we saw Derek Heitman here. It's on the back of Derek. Oh, no, this is Derek Heitman and Alex Vanderzand. I apologize there. We switched up on me. But yeah, no, Ralph Hutchison, I think, has really just nailed his pit strategy. 35 laps is what he was going to have to do. I think he pitted on lap 130. Let me double check that there. 126, so about 40 laps. But that being said, he is going to be flying for the rest of this stage. And on top of that, it's not like there was going to be that much older tires than the rest of the leaders here. So I think that was just an excellent decision on when he pitted, because at the end of the stage, he's going to be able to come in, get a free pit stop for the stage caution, and be okay. I think that was a great move.
I agree, and I want to go back to the very beginning of this stage. You said, man, I hope this thing goes green all the way to the end of this stage, and I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, I mean, it could. I didn't really expect it to. I was kind of expecting a yellow flag probably around the same time frame as the first stage, simply because we've not had a lot of attrition. We've still got 32 competitive cars in this race, so I was expecting at least one yellow flag so far in the stage, and we've not got it. It has stayed green all the way. We've only got about 30 laps to go in the stage, so this has been a really clean stage too. And I know we said earlier how clean this race has been, but just interesting to see, because we've had some carnage at mile and a half. In fact, I would say mile and a half tend to be the enemy of a green flag run in this league this season. We've had some crazy things happen, but Homestead kind of being the exception to the rule.
Yeah, it's definitely been a very tame race tonight. Lots of action. We've seen quite a few cars getting loose, but with the exception of Blake Giglio coming down to pit now, so he's no longer in the lead. But with the exception of that first caution we had, no real incidents. We've seen some very close battles, don't get me wrong. We've seen quite a few 3-wides. We almost had a 4-wide there momentarily, but one of the cars was dropping down in the pit lane. But absolutely great driving by all these drivers tonight. They're fighting hard, they're fighting tough, but they're giving each other just enough space. They're choosing their lines correctly, and they're really just, going back and forth, but in an extremely clean way. I'm really impressed with the driving tonight. As we see Vanderzand making a move here up into 11th place.
Yeah, just trying to get some positions back after his pit stop, trying to salvage some stage points here. Again, he's not in the playoffs, but he is still eligible for whatever points positions are behind the playoff drivers, and it does matter for team points. He is driving for SBR, I believe. Now, I will say that the team situation with SBR is sometimes a little bit confusing, because they have their main team and they've got reserve drivers on a team which they like to refer to as SBR adjacent, which isn't technically SBR. And I know that for a while Van de Sant was part of SBR adjacent, but I think in this event he is gathering points for SBR proper. So the points championship for the teams, for the viewers at home that don't know, there is an actual cash payout for the points championship for the team. So the teams which have accumulated the most points season long, no playoffs, no eliminations, just raw season long points, will earn cash. And I believe the top 5 get a payout, with the winner obviously getting the most and then decreasing down to 5th. So there's not just driver points battle on the line for some of these guys. There's actual monetary incentive that if you can help your team get up into 1st, 2nd, or maybe even 3rd in the team points, you might actually get a real payout for your efforts at the end of the year.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. Just the way that they have this league set up, having, the Friday night, I'll call it the Xfinity series, because that's kind of what it is just like a junior series, to get into the 100% Cup series. And then to have every single week in, week out, for season after season after season, full grids of dedicated teams, dedicated drivers. This is the way they have this league set up and run is just extremely impressive to me. Very well professionally done. I'm honestly just glad to be a part of it. I'm glad to be here just to see these guys, because these drivers are top notch. You won't see this very many other places. It's absolutely stunning what these guys can do with these cars. They are extremely tough to drive. They are a challenge to set up, and just to be able to do a full season, 30 races, 100% length, week in, week out, with very few limited breaks here and there. Absolutely impressive what this league has done, and just the level of competition alone, absolutely stunning. Real quick, we do have a new poll up in the chat. What are you watching us on? Are you watching us on PC, TV, phone, or tablet? Go ahead and give yourself give your choice there, and we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and select PC because we are casting.
I'm going to go ahead and, is there a poll option for Game Boy Advance?
Oh. Ooh.
Ah. Man, I had a Game Boy Advance.
Well, James is questioning whether Andre is old enough to know what a Game Boy Advance is. So, but to his defense, Andre, you do sound quite young. So.
Oh, I do. I absolutely do. Nobody would ever guess that I'm actually 24. Like, not even remotely.
See, there you go. 24. You're talking to yourself like you're old. 24 is 11 years younger than me. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's young. It's young. I'm just saying nobody would guess that even.
No, definitely not. And we are getting confirmation that old man James is about to hit 70. So
yeah, it's true. You heard it here first.
Congratulations.
No, Mike's hot now. No way. Anybody that knows me, no, I'm not hitting 70. How rude.
All right. You're hitting 80. We get it.
Yeah. Well, I will say I'm 20 years older than you, Andre. So that's there you go. Other than that, I'm going quiet. See you later, boys.
Always fun to give James a bit of a hard time there, but back on track, we have Ralph Hutchison back up in the top spot there. We got Paget in 2nd place, Bryson Hickson-Ball back up into 3rd. Matt Long coming through here up into 4th place. He kind of fell out for the first half of this 2nd stage here, though. We didn't really talk too much about him other than the fact that he was kind of, falling back a little bit and then maybe moving up a little bit, but not much action there for Matt Long in the 2nd stage so far.
No, it has been a pretty calm 2nd stage, and maybe not the blistering success that he had in the 1st stage, but he has been picking up a few positions here and there. He's kind of put his nose to the grindstone, worked his way up to P5, and now he's actually not far behind Alex Murray for another position. Both those drivers only about 3.5 seconds back from our leader, which in 20 laps, 3.5 seconds, that is a doable margin, although it would be quite difficult, especially given the fact that Ralph Hutchison has just been so fast all night long. He's got that advantage of being in clean air. And another thing I'm noticing about this 2nd stage, and this stint in particular, Michael, is that the playoff drivers are kind of finding themselves together on track. In the 1st stage, I think we only had a handful of playoff drivers actually getting points. Now we've got Hutchison, Hickson-Baugh, Murray, Long, Hoytsma, Root, all playoff drivers, all inside the top 10. So they're kind of finding their way to the front as this race progresses.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to see out of these championship drivers. You want to see these guys up front. You want to see the guys that have the chance at Phoenix battling it out towards the end of the stages and as we get further into this race, towards the end of the race. We're past the halfway point now, so it's good to see that. Bryson Hickson-Baugh moving up into 2nd place. Murray in fourth, like you said, did make a move there on Matt Long, able to get that move done. So Matt Long did fall back a little bit. Lucas Hoytsmas kind of just hanging out there in sixth place. Before all those pits, he was up in the top three there, but now kind of hanging out there in sixth place. We see RJ Root. We haven't mentioned RJ Root too much because this is probably the highest that he's been all race so far. Up 22 positions from what I'm currently seeing here. So I think this is the highest that he's been in the race so far.
Yeah, and it is pretty important for RJ Root to get up there and get some stage points, not just for himself being in the playoffs, but also the team point situation between SBR and LDR has been really tightening up over the last few weeks. For a while, it really looked like LDR was just walking away with the team points championship and nobody was going to be able to catch up to him. But then SBR, a few weeks back, had a 1-2-3-4 finish. And they have just been racking up points left and right throughout the playoffs, and they have just closed and closed and closed. And now it is a real possibility that SBR could take the lead in team points, which is a pretty significant increase in payout from second to first. And so I'm sure the boss man, Cam Stone, is telling RJ, get up here, get some points, let's go. And that's what they're doing. They're not having a bad day.
No, this has definitely been a solid run for them. So that is extremely interesting. As you said, for these drivers here, it's been really great to see that, but I kind of want to touch back a little bit here momentarily. You were going over the SBR team and the SBR adjacent. So with the SBR adjacent, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Formula One, but would that be kind of like a junior team for the SBR team? So kind of like an AlphaTauri kind of deal where it's the same drivers working together almost, but one team is kind of your A team, and the other team is not necessarily a B team, but an up and coming team. Is that kind of the same situation?
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's a similar situation. A lot of it, I think, was birthed by the fact that there is a 4-driver limit in the league, and you technically aren't allowed to own 2 teams. So Cameron Stone kind of, it's almost like it's like when you have a shell company that is untraceable under a different name on another country, because technically I believe Bryce Hoffman owns SBR adjacent through very questionable legality. And it's not a real team. They don't actually accrue points. That's just what that group of guys kind of calls themselves. If they were a real team and they were gathering points, it probably wouldn't be legal as far as the league's concerned. But really, it's just a pool of reserve drivers that SBR works with. They work together on setups. They work together on track knowledge. And when somebody is out, let's say one day Brandon Pierce is sick, and somebody needs to drive the 38, well, they can draw on one of those SBR adjacent drivers to fill in. And during that fill-in event, as long as the admins have been notified, that fill-in driver will actually get points for the team.
Well, I love that analogy, the shell company there. That's absolutely explained it perfectly for me. But yeah, no, that's really interesting, and honestly a great thing to have, especially in a league that, is as challenging as this is. As we see, Lucas Hoytsman's gotten really close to the wall a couple times there. I'm not sure he's making contact, but he's definitely getting really close early to mid-corner there. And this time he's going to stick down to the bottom, but we've seen him get really high a couple times now. So really interesting as we see a 3-wide situation kind of brewing here between these cars. It looks like the 0-2, and everybody's going to fall back in the line, so that's not going to brew into any sort of situation. But the 0-2 of Paget there, Mark Paget has really been, quietly having a solid race. We've seen him up in the top 3, back in 4th place right now, but still, for a driver that isn't in the championship, he's been having a very solid run tonight.
Yeah, he has been having a really good night, and we kind of talked about him in stage 1 too. He was up there for a little while after that pit sequence, kind of lingering around the top 10, and now he's gotten up inside the top 5. So pretty solid night for Paget. Again, he's not necessarily a new face to the league. I've seen him run a few races in the past, but I wouldn't necessarily call him a hardcore regular that I see every single week. So it's always nice when somebody who doesn't always get the opportunity to race can show up to a track and have a good time. I know when you're on a limited schedule, it kind of places more pressure on you to do well and to have fun because, it might be your only chance to race for a couple weeks. Maybe you've got obligations, maybe you're busy, and then if you have that bad race and it's going to be a while before you get back on track, it kind of hits harder, So to have a good run like this as a relatively
Confidence
on and off
booster.
driver. Oh yeah, big time, big time.
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with that. Some weeks you just don't have it for whatever reason. You're just not comfortable on the track. Your setup isn't there. One thing or another, it just doesn't fit, and then all of a sudden those weeks kind of add up, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror going, what happened to me? I have the ability, I have the talent, I'm able to drive. What's going on? You just sometimes need that confidence boost, that top 10, that top 5, that possibly a win even, just to kind of get your mind back in the flow, just to get your groove back. So it's definitely a solid run here for Paget here. So definitely looking up for him. And we know it's kind of late in the season. Obviously, he's not in the championship, but still a solid confidence booster going on for him tonight.
Now I want to point out, if you look at the timing and scoring, Bryson Nixonbaugh has actually closed the gap to Ralph Hutchison quite a bit. Bryson was, last time I looked, a few laps ago, about 1.4 seconds back. Now he's brought it down to 0.8 seconds. He's got 7.5 laps, roughly, to close this gap. So if he's just a little bit more than a tenth of a second per lap faster, he's going to get there. But we'll see. We know Bryson's been pretty good on these longer stints. Remember back in stage 1, he really came to life at the end of that thing. So the gap continuing to close. He got it down to about 0.7 in the corner, and then on the straightaway it extended back up to 0.8. So Ralph's got a little bit of defense to play. Keep his eye on that mirror. Make sure that Bryson doesn't get too close. But if I was Ralph, I'd still be feeling pretty confident. I mean, just judging off how these cars look, Ralph's car looks good. I mean, from my perspective, being in the iRacing session and spectating, I'm looking at the steering inputs, I'm listening to the throttle inputs, and everything's real smooth with Ralph right now. The steering inputs are real gentle, real consistent. He's not really juking on that wheel. The throttle inputs, he's not really playing with the throttle through the corner, and that's a sign of a good car. When you're just driving smooth and relaxed, you've got a good setup underneath you.
Yeah, and that's something that is, absolutely amazing to have here at a track that's so complicated, to set up a car like Miami is. So that's shout out to his team for helping him set that car up, and really just amazing drive so far by Ralph. His back's against the wall, backed into a corner. He's come out swinging tonight. Obviously, we have 5 more laps left in stage 2 here, and then we have the longer stage 3, but still absolutely amazing fighting by Ralph Hutchison. He knows what he has to do, and right now he is doing everything he can to get that win and get the job done to put him through to Phoenix.
And he's just got to hold on for about 4.5 more laps to get a stage 2 win. And if he can do that, that's going to give him a good starting position for stage 3. Stage 3 again will be just a little over, well actually no, because we'll be pacing for a few laps. It'll be a little under 100 laps of green flag racing, which is really, considering how far we've already made it into this race, going to go by pretty quickly for these guys. But right here, we're looking at a bit of a battle. We got Brandon Pierce down low in that Miami-themed car, and you got Blake Giglio up top trying to get a bit of a run down the straightaway, trying to drive away from him. There's Wayne Grassi side by side with Jason Taylor. Wayne Grassi been pretty quiet tonight. I don't think we've really talked about him a whole lot, but trying to make the overtake here as he is in 31st. So having a bit of a rough night in that number 7 Pennzoil machine.
Yeah, down 22 positions. Definitely not a race that he's going to want to remember for a long time. Brandon Pierce up in the 17th spot. I think Brandon Pierce gets my vote. I just love the black with the Miami colors there. Now, I got to preface this. Anything to do with Miami, aside from racing, I'm a little touchy about, because I'm a huge football fan, and the Miami Dolphins are a division rival. Let's just leave it there. So I gotta give myself credit here for being so comfortable and so okay with these colors, because it's taking a lot for me to say that.
You see, James, we're talking about hand egg, not actual football. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm a huge football fan. So Yeah, real American football, real football.
Right, hold on a minute. I'm cutting in now, right? What are you actually talking about? You're talking about this hand game thing where you pick it up, throw it a few yards, and then dive on the floor. Because, you know, I'm from the UK. Football means completely different to what you're talking about, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I mean over there, you guys actually use your feet in the game. We
Yeah.
don't even really do that. I don't.
No.
I mean, some players do.
But
Kickers
no.
do.
I mean,
You have a kicker on
Yeah,
the team
but-
for a reason.
Well, yeah, but what? For how long? Like, you know, that poor chap who plays kicker barely plays like 10 minutes throughout the 4
Yeah, but
hour
he
game
has
that I
like
have to
the
sit and
most
watch.
important job at certain points.
Well, then he should be paid the most, not this geezer behind who's throwing the ball in a bucket load of pads, should he?
Man, he just.
Anyway,
Yeah, I'm never gonna win with James.
No,
He's
well,
just never gonna
football's-
be.
in my eyes, football is something to do with the foot. And I think Andre agrees with me, to be honest. So at the moment, you're being ganged up on 2-1. So go Coms, yay.
it's going to be 2-1. But the stage has ended, and Bryce Nixonbaugh comes up just short for that stage win. He reeled him in to about 0.3 of a second, Michael. I mean, he was 0.8 back, brought it down to 0.3. If he had a few more laps, I think he could have got there. But unfortunately, the clock is not on his side, and he is going to bring it home. Second in the stage, Ralph Hutchison wins the stage. Third is going to be Lucas Hoitzma, Alex Murray P4, Matt Long P5, where he kind of spent most of that stage, actually. He got to 5th and kind of stalled out there. You got RJ Root in 6th. He did gain one more position on Paget and finished 7th. Sean O'Brien Jr. P8, Heitman in 9th, and Russell in 10th. That's going to be your stage complete. And now these guys are going to be able to come down pit road and get ready for this final stage of the race.
Yeah, this is definitely a strong finish there by our championship leaders there. The only one we don't see up there right now is Blake Giglio and obviously John Delaney, who's not here, but doesn't need to be here because he's already won his race to go to Phoenix. I think he had a prior engagement this weekend anyway, so he is not here tonight. But yeah, solid run there by Ralph Hutchison. Higson-Ball was definitely catching him in the end, though. I saw what you were saying there as James was giving me a hard time not understanding what football was. But we don't want to go back to that conversation. Anyways, so we see all these leaders are going to be coming down the pit road. And it looks like strategies are going to be quite mixed up as we have quite a few cars that are not on the lead lap trying to get their lap back. And we'll see who can win the race off of pit road here.
Yeah, now remember last time in stage 1, Ralph Hutchison was actually second in line coming into the pits. He was able to jump the leader, get the lead at the line at the end of pit road, and that's kind of how he got in position to even get this stage win that he just got. After the left sides go down and he gets out of pit road and he's not at risk of speeding, we're going to go ahead and pull in our stage winner, Ralph Hutchison, have a word with him. Hopefully not give him the commentator's curse. He's in a pretty precarious situation, and I would hate to affect that. But there he goes out of pit road. We'll be expecting him in here momentarily. Ralph Hutchison, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Long time no talk.
It has been a while, Ralph. It's been a while. And I'll tell you what, coming into this race, you were a little ways beneath the cut line, and you kind of, maybe not necessarily a must win, but a win would definitely take a lot of pressure off your shoulders. And right now, you're getting it done. Stage 2 win, really fast car. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good right now. The guy right behind me was quicker on both of those long runs there, so made a little bit of an adjustment to help out there. And yeah, it's not a must win, but I'm treating it like one. Martinsville has never been a great track for me, so trying to get her done tonight and make it easy.
Absolutely. Now, seeing the fact that you've been doing such a good job, I got to ask you, what are the keys to this track? What's a good tip for getting around Homestead, Miami?
You just got to save the tire, especially with this tire we've got on the car right now. Your whole setup, your line, your when to go, when to stay, every ounce of it is geared around having rear tire left on the car. And I frankly didn't have enough rear tire on the car at the end of that last run. So got to keep getting better. But tire management is absolutely everything at this point.
All right. Well, Michael, anything for Ralph before we let him go?
Just want to give you congratulations. That was a solid stage win there. You kind of completely dominated that. And as you said, you're kind of treating this as a must win. You came in tonight 47 points below the cut line. So would you really, if things didn't go your way, would you really want to put that on your shoulders for Martinsville? Because everybody knows Martinsville is just kind of well, it's Martinsville.
No, I would much rather do it here. You can control your destiny quite a bit more at this place than you can Martinsville. And frankly, I've never been quick around the place. So, no, I appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words, and really hope we can get her done tonight. Because, like you said, Martinsville is not somewhere I want to go into with that burden on my shoulders. So, tonight is key.
All right, Ralph out of the booth and getting ready to go back. Green lights are off on the pace car, and man, you got to think there's a million things running through his mind, and his heart's probably beating out of his chest because he's got to go about 100 more laps, and he's got to do it perfect, Michael. He can't make any mistakes. We've seen this race go pretty much caution-free ever since lap 17, barring the stage cautions. And when you don't get those yellow flags, when you can't rely on the field being stacked up and regrouped by the pace car, every mistake matters just that much more. So, I don't know, man. He's got to be on the ball.
He's definitely got to be on the ball, but I liked his tone there. He sounded cool, confident, in control. We haven't seen really any mistakes from him tonight. He knows what he needs to do. He doesn't want to let this get to Martinsville. I would not be surprised to see more of the same from him coming through in this third stage because he has just been in complete control out there.
Absolutely. Pace car makes a hard left turn, and it is going to be in the hands of Ralph to try to decide when this race starts and exactly how, with a huge shove from Alex Murray. Look at that. Right up on the rear bumper, trying to push him down into the corner. And they're going to be side by side for second place. You got Bryson Nixonbaugh up on that high line now. If there was a threat for this win that isn't Ralph Hutchison, you got to look at the man that Ralph pointed at and said that, hey, he was faster both those stages, and that is Bryson Nixonbaugh. Ralph was really looking in his mirror, a little bit nervous with that 63 car, and now he's starting further up the grid than he has all night long. He's got pretty clean track as Alex Murray is going to wiggle a little bit, cause some chaos there. Bryson goes to the high line, has to lift a bit. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting story to watch develop.
Yeah, as we see here, Bryson Nixonbaugh definitely has a very strong long-run car. Another long-run car that we saw kind of fall off a little bit, but still up in the top 10. Matt Long right there up in 7th place, so just a little bit further back. Alex Murray, though, we haven't talked too much about that 28 car tonight, other than the fact that he's been involved in a couple three-wide situations. But he's quietly having a pretty solid run as he gets Hoytsma on the outside here. He's going to keep the inside. It looks like he's going to be able to hold on to that with Mark Paget coming up behind him. And we are going to have, just like I said, a three-wide situation with Alex Murray in the middle here. And Mark Paget is able to make it work down on the bottom there. As we see, looks like Heitman is, we're going to roll with Mark here, but Heitman did try to follow suit there and is trying to make a move on the bottom of Lucas Hoytsma. We'll see here. Yeah, he is able to make a move, but he's going to have to back out a little bit because Alex Murray does have that line there. But just up above him, we see RJ Root, first of all, has moved into first place, so we missed that just a moment ago. But Ralph Hutchison back in second place, and Mark Paget up into third place, getting around Bryson Nixonbaugh. So we'll have to take a look here and follow along with RJ Root. We haven't talked too much about RJ tonight. He's had a quiet race, but he is up into first place here, and this is a replay of the pass that he just made. So he is going to go ahead and use that draft to get the line, take the outside, and is just able to kind of stick it around the corner and just has a better exit, and away he goes. And that's how RJ Root got up into first place.
Yeah, so barring any green flag pit sequences that kind of jumbled up the running order, this is the first time that RJ Root has led the lap on merit, I would say, so far tonight. And it seems like he's just been getting quicker and quicker as the day has gone on. So we'll keep an eye on that number 8, see if he can't pull away from Hutchison here. Paget has taken third away from Bryson Nixonbaugh. He was able to make that pass on the bottom as we do have our third caution. Actually, no, that is going to be second caution for cause. Patrick Muchet involved, I'm hearing. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened. This number 46 machine. It's happening in front of him.
Oh.
The 51 blinking and locking up, and then he's actually getting tagged by somebody else there.
That was a very interesting situation there. Patrick Muchet all of a sudden had a car in front of him, so I don't really think he really had anything happen there. There's Jason Baker kind of gets a little bit of a tap there from the 70, and had to back out, blinked, and that was a very strange situation there.
Yeah, it looks to me like the 51 might have had some sort of mechanical failure, like hardware, either his wheel or his monitor or something, and he just didn't handle it in a great way. He kind of let off the throttle and slammed the brakes, which then got a few people caught up in that. Here comes Hutchison down pit road. This is interesting. Just about everybody making their way down pit road. So I got to wonder, with the exception of RJ Root, who did stay out, I got to wonder if these guys aren't considering trying to make it to the end.
That's a big ass there, 90 laps.
It is.
That's going to be tough. I don't think that's going to be the case, because as we were talking to Ralph Hutchison there, he was saying that he was losing his rear end, his rear right tire, and we know he only had about 45 laps, maybe about 50 laps. I think he came in on 126, so about 49 laps on his tires before he was able to pit under the caution for the stage win. But I don't see that being the case. These guys are probably planning on pushing it about 50 laps, I would say, and then trying to finish it up, go as far as they can, so kind of doing a 50-40 split. But yeah, this is definitely going to make things very interesting. I'm kind of surprised that RJ Root stayed out along with Van der Zandt. Now, Blake Giglio has had a tough night. He's fallen through the pack quite a bit. He's up 25 positions currently. We've seen him up in the top 10, but we've also seen him drop back to the mid-20s. So it's been an extremely up and down night for him. I'm not surprised to see Blake Giglio trying to kind of take a few positions here and stick it out to hope for a second caution in this stage. But yeah, I think if you're Ralph Hutchison, you're Bryson Hickson-Ball, that's definitely the right choice to go ahead and just take that pit now. You know you're going to have to pit at least one more time. I think going to 90 laps is just asking too much.
Yeah, again, a reminder for the viewers at home, the longest run we've seen so far tonight was Matt Long going 63 laps. He pitted on, I believe, lap 17 or 18, and then went all the way to the end of the stage there on lap 80. So he went quite a ways, and he was able to make it work. So actually lap 85, I believe, was stage one. So we know that they can go quite a ways on a tank of gas, but I think you're right, Michael. Asking them to get to the end from here is a big ask. The only reason I'm even considering it a possibility is because so many drivers came down pit road. And given how short that stint was right there, tire wear wasn't really coming into play yet. They weren't really concerned about it. The only thing I can think is maybe they're considering the possibility of maybe saving, trying to make it. I don't know. But RJ Root wasn't having any of it. He's like, all right, you can keep your hypotheticals. You can keep your crazy strategies. I know my fuel mileage, I know what I can do, and I know what kind of car I have, so I'm going to stay out front so I can control this race.
Yeah, and it's, it's a great plan for him. We know Alex Van der Zandt is fast. He's led a couple laps already in this race. We've seen him have a good, solid, long-run car. So it's going to be interesting to see what Van der Zandt does here. But RJ Root definitely on the cusp here. He's 28 points back as we came into tonight. Hasn't been too much of a factor up towards the front of the field for a majority of the race. So this is going to be a really interesting race from here on out. Like you said, some of these drivers might just be, changing their strategy up just to try to go the long distance. But, I mean, you're adding another 30 laps to that 63 laps that we saw Matt Long do. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you would need a lot of cautions and a lot of pace laps, I think, to make that happen. Like, that's the only way I could imagine that even working out. And at that point, if you did get the cautions, you just pit for tires anyways.
Yeah, no, you just want to go ahead and pit when you can. But, I mean, they're just taking advantage if they can. They have 8 sets of tires. We've had, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think tires, sets are going to become an issue tonight. So taking a fresh set of tires right now doesn't really hurt these drivers. So it's just going to give them an extra, 10, 15 laps or so of fresher rubber, and then they can probably just pit at the same time and, have an advantage, or, pit a few laps later. As we see, these cars are under green as RJ Root gets a great jump start there. Blake Giglio getting around the inside of Alex Van der Zandt, and away we go.
Yeah, it was a great start from our leader there. Blake Giglio trying to take second place away from Van der Zandt. He's going to be able to do it. Going back to the tire situation, I think you're exactly right, Michael. They're kind of behind schedule, I'd say. in terms of how many tires they've used, so they can kind of afford to throw some away if they need to. Look at this, the number 16 diving down low for the lead up front. Can he make it stick, though? 0. Wow, oh my goodness. 0.03 seconds, and he's going to get a huge run out of the corner, taking the lead. I did not expect that speed on corner exit, given how shallow of an entry he took, but he's not going to be driving away with it so easy. Look at this, RJ Root closing back in on that bumper, trying to take the air off the spoiler. Now, that is something you can do with this car, but it's not as, I would say, impactful as it used to be with Gen 6. Essentially, when you pull up somebody's spoiler, you're redirecting the airflow, lifting it up off of their spoiler, which then gives them less downforce, which makes the car loose. But given the fact that the deck lid is shorter on these cars and the spoilers are shorter, you can't really rely on getting somebody unsettled like you used to. Back in the days of Gen 6, and even the car of tomorrow, you could pull up to somebody, get right up on their rear bumper, and they would just get loose, try to chase it up the track. You'd make that move. I've noticed it doesn't work out quite as well with this car.
Yeah, I definitely haven't seen that at all with this car. It's something that you used to see quite a bit, like you said, but as we see, we're going back a little bit further. Ralph Hutchison down on the bottom there. 3 wide. We got Campstone, we got Bryson Hicksonball, we got Alex Murray. All these drivers are just really fighting back and forth here, and that is just insane. And it looks like Ralph almost wanted to take the inside there on Heitman, but was not able to do so. Heitman gets down to the bottom, and we also see Damaris Hickenbotham up into the top 10 again. We saw him earlier tonight up into the top 10, and he's back up there. So kind of an up and down night, kind of an up and down season for Damaris, but nice to see the 00 up there at United States Postal Service.
Yeah, I'm not usually that happy to see the USPS, but, when there's Damaris up here running pretty well, I'll make an exception. I'll say that's a pretty good thing, as the number 28 gives a bit of a shot to Ralph Hutchison. These guys, they got to get this sorted out, otherwise we're going to be looking at another yellow flag. They are all over the track trying to make passes. Aggressive blocks from the 28 leads to a maneuver from Paget, where he's going to dive down low. The 38 trying to pinch the number 28. 3 wide again. Paget down low. Alex Murray in the middle, nowhere to go. And the 38 able to just barely let out of the throttle, get it down to a 2 wide situation. Smart, safe move by Brandon Pierce there. As they round through 1 and 2, they're finally going to be single file. I think they had their fun there, Michael, and now they're saying, okay, that was close. Let's calm it down. Except for Cam Stone. He's not had his fill yet. He wants to keep this going.
Yeah, Cam Stone just a little frustrated, just wants to get up there and get some points, even though he's not in the championship. He still finished the season strong. Did have a late knockout in the championships. I think he was down to the round of 12 when he got knocked out. So very recently, only a few races ago. But he's definitely moving up a few positions, up into 10th place right now. He's got Lucas Hoitzman following him. They both got around Pierce there, but up a little bit further. I don't want to take away from this battle. I do want to point out Ralph Hutchison back up into 5th place. So he has fresh rubber, and he is definitely making some moves here. But he is under a lot of pressure by Alex Murray.
Yeah, Alex Murray has been really fast tonight, and even though he hasn't really led any laps, I don't believe, he's always been lingering around the front of the field, and he's one of the drivers I've noticed that is not afraid to make an aggressive move. He's not afraid to hit somebody's bumper, not afraid to pinch them or run them up to the wall. And, I mean, hey, sometimes you got to rattle somebody's cage to get around them, and that's what Alex is doing. It's giving him a bit of an advantage when everybody else in this race has been really, for lack of better words, pretty docile. I've not seen a high level of aggression out of anybody. It's been pretty cordial, pretty calm. Even Ralph, who's in a pretty dire situation, he himself said it, he's treating it like a must-win. He's not really raced too hard. He's been really respectful. Whenever he's made his passes, he's given everybody plenty of room. Maybe more room than he should have even. And so, I don't know, Alex Murray being a pretty aggressive driver right now, that may be the ace in the sleeve.
Yeah, but to Alex Murray's defense, we've been talking about this being a must-win for Hutchison. The only person in the championship that needs to win more than Ralph Hutchison is Alex Murray. He's still 8 points back behind, so he needs this win more than anybody. So if he wants to continue the Phoenix, he can't point himself in. He's 55 points back from the cut line. That's just asking way too much to be able to do that. So if anybody needs a win tonight, and it's not Ralph Hutchison, it's going to be the man in fourth place right on his bumper, taking the inside here on Vandersant, Alex Murray.
And this is a really interesting top four because we basically have the four drivers that are beneath the cut line, 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are going to be going at it for the win here. Not too many laps left. And the drivers who were, coming into this race pretty safe in points, well, they're Bryson Nixon-Baugh, Lucas Hoytsma, Matt Long, 9th, 10th, 15th. They're a little ways back there. And so the points are kind of shifting. They're trading hands at the end of this race if things stay the way they are. But more than getting points, more than having a good points day, like you said, Michael, Alex Murray, Ralph Hutchison, these guys want to win.
Yeah, if you're Matt Long, you just want to get up in the top 10. You know he's got a strong long-run car. He's up in 15th. If you're Lucas Hoytsma, you're looking at this top 4 going, wow, I need to make some moves because even though I'm 18 points above the cut line, I've got Blake Giglio in second place, RJ Root in first place, Ralph Hutchison and Alex Murray third and fourth. It really, if you just flip Giglio and Root, that's your cut line right there. Just like you said, those are your 4 drivers. And RJ Root, is only 18 points back of the cut line. So Lucas Hoytsma is probably under the third most amount of pressure right now. I'd say Alex Murray and Hutchison would be 1, 2 in that order. And then Hoytsma back in 9th place really needs to get a move on. He's sitting in the points right now. But is that going to be enough to keep him safe?
Now, one more thing to keep in mind is that Hutchison does have slightly pressure tires than RJ was really the sole leader to stay out, so he's on just a little bit older equipment than everybody else, which is going to slow him down slightly in the long run. I think that's what we're seeing as Ralph Hutchison has caught the number 16 of Blake Giglio, and I don't think it's going to take much to get around him here. He's going to dive it down low. Blake makes a good defensive maneuver there. Now, he had plenty of room to make that block, and it did check up the 54, but here's the thing, man. If I'm going to block somebody, I'm not going to block the guy that needs to win to move on. That's just a self-preservation.
Yeah, you say that, but to be honest with you, both of these guys need strong wins. Giglio needs points. He's, 18 points back from the cut line like we were just talking about. So even though he doesn't want to cause an accident, and we know that Ralph Hutchison needs to move up, he doesn't want to drop back too far as we see these cars getting really close there. So he's going to be protecting as much as he can here. You could barely put a piece of paper through those 2 cars side by side going through the corner there.
Yeah, Blake was he was doing the old, I left you room. Not a lot of room, but room. That's what he was doing. Unfortunately for him, it didn't quite work out as Ralph was still able to make the move, and now Alex Murray is coming in tow to try to pass him down low and maybe take away that 3rd position there on the podium. While these guys were battling, here's what's amazing to me. These guys have been battling, and they've still been closing in on our leader while doing so. Ralph is now only about a car length back from RJ Root, and he's got fresher tires. So the question is, how long is it going to be before he can get around him?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too much longer. He's actually caught right up to him. He almost had a look on the inside there. We'll say Blake Giglio is also on those older tires. As you see, Ralph really getting up on the back end here. He's going to try the inside line down the straight. We'll see if he's able to make the job done. He's going to have the inside line into 1 and 2, and it looks like they're going to come close there. That was extremely close from RJ Root. Ralph Hutchison had the inside. There was no place for him to go. And it looks like he's going to have to kind of wait until 3 and 4 to try that move again, because he had to almost back out a tiny bit there.
Yeah, RJ's doing a great job defending his ground, just trying to hold his line, but I don't think there's a whole lot he can do against the fresher tires that Ralph has. It's just kind of a futile effort here because he is just going to be that little bit faster, and as we mentioned earlier, Michael, just a little bit here and there, 1/10 per lap is going to add up over time, and there's just not much you can do to prevent that from just stacking up against you, and you watch the guy drive away into the sunset. But we are approaching lap 200. Ralph is back in the lead. RJ Root P2. We've got Alex Murray in 30. He has finally taken that position from Blake Giglio. Mark Padgett, the first non-playoff driver in the running order, he's back in 5th, with Bryson Nixon-Baugh kind of tailing him by a little ways there. You can see they're about 3-4 car lengths separated. Then you got Derek Heitman, Lucas Hoytsma, Robert Anderson, the Highline hero, Robert Anderson. There he is, still running that Highline. And he's up here in the top 10, just barely having a good time. He's battling with Matt Long. Chris Hammond is battling him as well, though he is, I believe, not on the lead lap. So it's just kind of more of an, let's call it an exhibition battle.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an exhibition battle there, but not on the exhibition point there. Matt Long starting to come into his own here on this longer run, trying to get up in the top 10 here. I do want to say I was kind of making a point there for Lucas Hoytsma, but Bryson Hixenbaugh only a couple points, only 1 point ahead of Lucas Hoytsma. So really, they're both in that position that they have to score solid points just to kind of protect themselves tonight. Seeing how Alex Murray and Ralph Hutchison definitely both have a shot at a win here.
Yeah, at this point, I would say it's anybody's game. We're on lap 199, coming to 200. There it is, lap 200. We've got 68 more circuits around this track, and we've got likely another green flag stop between us and the checkered flag. I really don't think these guys can make it, even the guys who pitted. If they do, I'm going to say it right now. If somebody that pitted on that last caution can somehow make it to the very end, I will... I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something. Because
No. Come on.
All right.
Give us
I
something.
will I will
What are you going to do?
well, I can't swim, so I could take a jump into a pool. Well, that'd be something.
All right, now the only way we'd allow that to even be remotely happen is A, you need to make sure you got a lifeguard, because if you can't do that, that's going to be, I don't want to be an accessory to murder here with Andre committing Harry Carey in a pool. But I think if I tell you what, if anybody makes it to the end, Andre, I think we should get a $10 donation from you to Jimmy Strong's charity, which can be done through the GoFundMe link down in the description in YouTube. What do you reckon?
I
think that sounds fair. I think that absolutely sounds fair.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. If anybody makes it to the end, Andre will donate $10 to the Jimmy Strong Foundation, which has got the YouTube link down in the description as well. So there we go. Crack on, boys. I'm going quiet.
Biggles is trying to get you to shave your head for charity, and also he's trying to get you to do a shoey. Now, we do have Daniel Ricardo here in Texas, so that's not too far-fetched.
I mean, I've already done that, though.
Oh.
That wouldn't be anything new.
Already done a shoey. I've never done a shoey, and I never want to do a shoey, so I'll leave you to that. That's all you.
Listen,
James, you hush down back there, okay? Yeah, we don't need to hear about your sweaty feet.
Hey, look, man, I can send you a boost if you want to do a shoey, buddy. You know what I mean? I'm more than welcome for that one.
Yeah, Andre going to donate $10 to the Jimmy Strong. You can go ahead and follow the link, like James was saying, in the YouTube chat, the description there. Obviously, we want to support Jimmy Strong. Great cause there. Yeah, this has been an exciting race so far. As we see Bryson Hixenbaugh taking the lead from Ralph Hutchison. These two drivers both need solid runs, but Alex Murray and Ralph Hutchison both need wins. So this is 3 wide with Blake Giglio in the middle there. That was an extremely close situation there. I'm surprised that we've seen so many 3 wide situations that have just gone so cleanly tonight. It's been really, really impressive.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it earlier. We've seen so many drivers get a little bit loose, get a little bit squirrely, and they are able to gather it up. Nothing really comes of it. And we've seen races this season where the handling on these cars really starts to get away from these drivers, especially on long runs, and you tend to see just a rash of cautions. Once the handling goes away, you got somebody spinning out here, somebody spinning out there, but somehow these guys are keeping a handle on these cars, and I gotta wonder if maybe these next-gen cars are just kind of pretty well suited for this kind of track. You've got the diffuser on the bottom of the car, which is kind of generating a lot of ground force, and with the way that these corners are relatively high speed, that diffuser is pretty active and pretty effective. So when they get sideways, maybe it's kind of catching them a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. Andre, I'm going to have you take over here for just another moment. I do have a quick issue I have to deal with momentarily.
Absolutely, no problem.
I'll jump in with you, Andre.
Much appreciated. We still got Ralph Hutchison out front, but boy, oh boy. Actually, no, we don't. I believe we have a change for the lead.
Yeah, Bryson went through.
time and scoring there. Bryson does take the lead. Ralph Hutchison in P2. Now, this is the driver that Ralph pointed the finger at and said, hey, that guy was faster than me in both stages. And now what he didn't want to see happen is playing out right in front of him. He's got Bryson Nixon Pod driving off into the sunset very fast on this kind of mid-run right now. Again, we're a little ways off the green flag stint. Not really necessarily a long run, but the 63 is finding a lot of pace here as Hutchison is going to be battling for second place with Alex Murray again. Alex in a very precarious point situation, and he's been fast tonight, so he's going to try to use that speed to his utmost ability. And behind these guys, you got a bit of a gap all the way back to Hoyt's Mine, where these guys are about 2.5 seconds back from our leaders, so kind of leaves these guys in their own little world to kind of battle it out amongst themselves.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. The thing is with Hixenborough as well, as the stint's gone on, he's got quicker and quicker and quicker, and that's the thing that everybody is aware of. Bryson is running a good long run car. So is Matt Long currently at the same time as well. They're Matt Long's now back up into 6th. He's plus 27. You know, he's got nothing to be sniffed at here from what he's doing. You can see him here having his battle with RJ Root, and you can see the top 6 are all playoff drivers. And, you know, these are going to be wanting to win. And at the end of the day there, if we're looking at Matt Long really doing an Anderson here, and I think that's what we can call it now, because running that top line all evening as they come literally... But do you see what I mean? Matt Long, Bryson Hixenborough, both of them have got long run cars, and clearly they're set up for this. And despite what we're saying about the fact that we were expecting them to have incident and incident and incident, there hasn't. There's been what, 2 forced cautions, 2 stage cautions, and I think that's it as far as I can remember.
Now, I do want to jump in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to jump in here. Since we have been green for so long, it's lap 210, and
no,
that's James.
No.
Oh, we're good.
Oh, stay down. No.
That was James.
No, you can't.
I'm calling that one to James.
No, you cannot put that on me. That was
me.
That was
No,
not me.
it's true. Me and Andre have been talking about how close these guys have come together, and then as soon as you start talking about it, get loose there. But that was just an unfortunate incident there, and we almost saved it. Yeah, he almost saved it there.
Literally just straightened up the wheel, and then as well without running that accelerator as much as he was. I reckon he could have had that. Look, if we look back at the replay here, oh look, if he goes around now and then just straightens the wheel up and hits the gas, I reckon he could have saved it.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate little snap there. If he had stayed below the apron, he would have kept it green. But these things happen. We do have our 4th caution of their day, our third forced caution. This is going to be interesting because what I was about to say is we were about to see some green flag pit stops. That's not the case now. We're going to see probably our final pit stop unless we get another caution at some point here for the race here, right here and now.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. Yeah, I could believe it. You know what? I'll take the blame. All right, I'll take the blame. I'm the junior here. 24 to James is 70 years old, and Michael's.
Right, hold on. I said, hold on a minute, right? Don't put me up
James, go. You said you were going away.
I was.
You said you were going away.
I'm going to watch this back. It doesn't mean you talk about me. Pickles,
we can't talk about you behind your back if you're looking at us. You have to turn around.
Behave yourselves. Right, I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. But anyways, I accept blame. I accept blame as the junior here. That was my commentator's curse. I feel like I was mentioning a lot how loose these cars were getting. And, I think eventually fate just said, all right, you tempted me too much. We're gonna do what we should have done a long time ago. We're going to send somebody around. But yeah, no, Michael, I think you're right. There's no way we're going to see another pit stop unless a caution comes out. If another caution does come out, absolutely no-brainer. You're going to have a lot of cars down pit road because pretty much every driver in this field still has sets down on the wall where they can come and get fresh tires and not really worry about it. So not really something they're going to have to think about too hard. And this pit stop, also a no-brainer because from here they can absolutely make it to the end, no question about it. We're on lap 213 out of 267. That is substantially fewer laps than what we saw Matt Long do. Now, this is interesting to me in that I think this puts the race right into the hands of Hixenbaugh and Matt Long. We pointed out how both these drivers have good long-run cars, and now, if this thing goes green to the very end, if we do not get another caution, this race is going to end on pretty much exactly what we would consider a fuel run to be. So it's looking good for the 63 and the 97. If you're a Ralph Hutchison or an Alex Murray who's blazing fast on the short run, maybe you're hoping for another caution.
Yeah, if you're Alex Murray, you might be hoping for another caution. That being said, though, I think it really depends on if we get another caution, where that caution comes out. I think if it's in the middle of this run, lap 35, 40, you're going to see some cars coming in. But if it's closer to the end of the race, that's really going to throw some strategy to the wind. Because if you're a front runner and that caution comes with 5 laps left, you're obviously not taking the pit stop. If that comes with 15 laps left, it's kind of a question mark. Do you take the pit stop and risk the position? Or do you want to keep track position and risk the fact that some of these quick drivers with that have been strong in the long runs are going to go ahead and make a quick adjustment, get some fresh rubber, and now all of a sudden they're going to be all over your tail. So I'm hoping we stay green, but if we do get another caution, it's going to throw strategy to the wind, because that's just impressive, that we've gone so far so long with such a clean race. And even that incident we just had, we've seen so many 3-wide situations where somebody got a little loose and it would have taken out half the field. But the incidents that we've had have been 2-car incidents. I think that first incident we had involved a few cars, but it wasn't really a big mess. It was more of just kind of like things coming together, people trying to avoid other people. It wasn't like, where we've seen at like Talladega or Daytona where, you go 3 wide and all of a sudden the middle car just gets loose, the bottom car gets loose and it takes out half the field. That has been such a strong possibility at so many points in this race, and the few cautions that we have seen have been relatively small ones.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The first caution was definitely the biggest one we had, but even then it was just a lot of scrambling trying to get around the other driver. I do want to shine a light on Kevin Steele there in P12 for this restart. This is about as far up the grid as he has restarted all night long, so that's kind of interesting to see him gain some positions prior to that yellow flag. Ralph Hutchison was the control car for that restart, and it looks like that worked out to his advantage pretty well, because he's able to get out ahead of the other 2 drivers that were right behind him. Alex Murray with a huge run out of the corner. RJ Root trying to get to the quarter panel inside draft Bryson. Not going to be close enough. Bryson is comfortably in 3rd, but look at that. Alex Murray just pushing on the bumper of the 54. Very risky move there, but this is where it gets good, Michael, because both these guys, they need to win. They want to get this position locked into Phoenix, and so they are going to be absolutely cutthroat about this.
Yeah, your top 7 there, all championship drivers. The only one that's not here right now is the only one that doesn't need to be here. Said it earlier, John Delaney. So every single one of these drivers in the top 7 has something to fight for right now. They're all scoring points, which helps Bryson Hixenbaugh, helps Lucas Hoytsma, helps Matt Long, who if you had to choose somebody that doesn't necessarily need to win tonight, doesn't necessarily have to worry as much as everybody else, it would be Matt Long. As we see, the timing tower is getting a little funky there. But even still, 22 points above the cut line, Matt Long is not in a safe position here. So every single one of these 7 championship cars up in the front of the race here has something to fight for. Like, they all need something here. They all need points. They all want wins to be able to just kind of just relax and lock themselves in the Phoenix.
Yeah, the playoff format tends to create a lot of drivers in bad situations, points-wise, and it doesn't always really reflect necessarily this thing that the driver has had. Sometimes the driver can have a great season, but if they just have a few issues, then the playoff format kind of knocks them down. But as our producer's pointing out, Robert Anderson, for the first time all night, was forced down to the bottom, not up on his high line. The high line hero has been left desolate and destroyed on the bottom. What is he going to do here? He's completely boxed in.
Look how fast he's going, though. He had a huge run just a moment ago. Almost, he had to back out of it because he almost came into the back of Blake Giglio there.
a funny thought is what if Robert is running the bottom line for the first time in 219 laps and he's realizing, oh man, I should have been doing this before.
Where has this line been all my life? That's the definition of insanity.
Nope, he's back up there. There we go. That's the Robert Anderson we all know and love. You go, buddy.
Back into sanity.
Oh man, he's right alongside Matt Long. Matt Long trying to hold that middle line. Let's see if Robert can maybe get a run on the high line here in that number 11 Tide ride. You got a lot of cars kind of accordioning, if that's a word, accordioning. That's not a word, I made that up. Down on the bottom line, and that's going to check them up just enough to keep that 11 side by side. But hey, let's check up front here because right now, Ralph Hutchison under fire from Alex Murray. RJ Root right behind Alex. I mean, we got a single file freight train of cars battling for the lead. And like you said, Michael, a lot of drivers that need a good run, but there's only one checkered flag to claim.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Ralph Hutchison, Alex Murray up front, both of these drivers have to win to be able to transfer. They're just a little bit too far back behind that cut line. But RJ Root, he's having a phenomenal third stage here. We mentioned it earlier that he's had kind of a quiet race, and now all of a sudden he's just back up front and just keeping throwing his name into the hat here. He's 28 points behind the cut line, so even though he's not necessarily in a must-win position, none of these drivers want to go to Martinsville next week and have their championship hopes rely on a track that is Martinsville. Like, there's just you can't control your destiny, I believe is what Ralph Hutchison said there, where you can here at Miami. And that's completely correct. There's just too many variables that happen on a short track that is just, especially Martinsville, which is, there's too many things you just can't comprehend and can't account for. If you're going to get the job done, you got to get it done this weekend.
Ooh, Derek Heitman. Whoa. Some net code.
Now, Heitman was the one that was involved in the previous incident that wasn't able to save it, though.
Yes, he was. Ooh, hard hit.
Oh, the 46 car just barely missing out there.
Well, I think the 46 actually did make contact, but it was kind of net coded, and it may not have actually damaged his machine, but it definitely ping-ponged that 76 down the track. That was... we kind of lucked out there. That very easily could have triggered a yellow flag. I think what saved us was that neither of those cars went beyond a 45-degree angle, which I think is the trigger. It is when a car is 45-degree angle, like off of what it should be, and another car passing within a certain radius of it while it's at that angle. And neither of those drivers got too slideways there. A lot of them keeping it going in the right direction. We're going to keep it green, which is exactly what drivers like Hixenbaugh and Matt Long want to see. But Hixenbaugh has fallen back to 5th, restarting a little bit closer to the front. We really thought maybe he's going to get out there and be in command of this, but dropping back a few positions. Paget was able to get around him. RJ was able to get around him. Alex Murray, of course, had that really great restart where he was just pretty much on the bumper of the leader from the very beginning. So he was kind of a non-factor for Bryson. He was already gone away, but look at this. Robert Anderson, P6, Blake Giglio there in 7th, and these guys are just not separating. All race long, Michael, it seems like after 15 laps or so, you start to see some big separation from the leaders on back. But here, 1 through 7, maybe even 1 through 8, I can't quite see where Hammond is, but 1 through 7 for sure are just bumper to bumper in a line here. This is really insane to see.
Yeah, the gap leading back to, what is that? Blake Giglio is just barely over a second. These guys are bumper to bumper, as you said, as we see Giglio getting some attention here from Hammond. Hammond trying to take the inside, and he's got the move done. He's going to be able to make it stick, it looks like. So Hammond putting Blake Giglio positioned back. Now, we do know that Bryson Hixenbaugh, we do know that Matt Long both have really strong long-run cars. We've seen them fall back a little bit and then become a lot stronger later on in the stint. So I'm not too surprised to see Matt Long where he is. I'm not too surprised to see Bryson Hixenbaugh kind of just chilling. We know Anderson does have short pace, but we know that he's also kind of fallen off as well. So I think right now it's kind of a toss-up. Even though we're seeing these cars where they are, they're not exactly, relative to their long-run pace. So unless Hammond can do something, unless Anderson is able to really start, using that bottom line, I think we're going to see quite a bit of shakeup here as we come a little closer towards the end of the race. Just over 35 laps to go, just under 40 laps. So it's definitely going to get very interesting here as we get a little closer to the end.
Yeah, but one thing to keep in mind too, if you're a Hickson or a Matt Long, is you don't want to fall too far back in this short run. You don't want to let these guys get too far away because you only got so much time to make that time back up once your car does come. We're on lap 229, coming to 230. We've got about 38 laps left once they cross the line. That's going to go by in the blink of an eye. 30-second lap time, that's like, maybe 16, 17 minutes of racing. So you got to make sure that you don't fall too far back because you don't want to have to climb a mountain once that car comes to life. You only want to have to climb a molehill.
I just want to give a shout out. I see what you did there, Biggles. The Tide car needs to wash the others on tumble spin cycle. 228 cycles of 267 timer. That's and he says Miami Beaches are closing in 10 minutes. So I want to give a shout out. Working hard there out in the chat, Biggles. What's good, bud? Yeah, Ralph Hutchison really kind of not really getting away from these other leaders here. We've seen him get out to some strong leads, and this time, Alex Murray is just not letting him go anywhere. RJ Root right on the bumper too. So this top six, they're really close to each other. They're not letting anybody get away. It's really going to make things extremely exciting here as we come down 36 laps left to go in this race. And like you said, Matt Long, Bryson Hicksonball, they can't really let these guys get away from them. If you're Matt Long, you're going to start sweating here because even though you're, currently second in the points, you're currently in 12th place. You need to get back up into the top 10 to really start scoring any decent points here. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for Matt Long, and now Lucas Hoytsma falling out of the top 10 as well.
Well, the biggest problem for Matt Long as well is that pretty much every playoff driver is in front of him. 12th place isn't that bad, especially if some of these playoff drivers were finishing behind you. But problem is, everybody that he's in competition with is currently having a better run. Now, he does have Lucas Hoytsma right in front of him, and it seems like he's got a faster car than Lucas, so he could pick up a point there. But you definitely don't want to see the other playoff contenders having a better night than you, even if you're comfortable in points, like you said, Michael. The thing about Martinsville is it is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter if you're beneath the cut line. It doesn't matter if you're above the cut line. You're going to be a little bit of contact there, but you're going to be just as nervous. Even if you are Matt Long, let's say you go in above the cut line, and immediately there's a pile up on turn one. You wreck out. You're one of the first to take it behind the wall. You finish 34th position, and somebody you were in points competition with finishes second or even wins the race. Well, now suddenly you've had a terrible points day, and what seemed to be a sure trip to Phoenix is taken away. So these guys really want to do their business here at Homestead as opposed to Martinsville, because that is going to be absolutely chaotic. And I know that there's probably some old wounds from Martinsville for this league that have not healed. I still remember one of the broadcasts I did for this league back at Martinsville, I believe in 2021. The co-commentator had a power outage, so I was on my own, kind of working it by myself, and we had so many caution flags that night that I stopped counting them, and I don't think we finished until close to 1 in the morning. So not a track these guys have very fond memories of.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that to our producer tonight because it's already 1 o'clock in the morning where he is. So
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. It started at 1 o'clock in the morning where he is.
Yeah, it's got to be closer to 3:34, right?
Yeah. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning on the other side of the pond there. But I'm not sure what's going on here. My timing tower is saying that, I guess everybody's seeing this, Hutchison is not in the pits. I do want to clarify that. Hutchison is out front. He is not in the pits right now. It's said that for quite a while here. But not exactly sure what's going on there. As we see another 3-wide incident. Lucas Hoytsma in the middle there, getting very, very, very close to Tanner Marty. He's able to keep it safe, but that was real close there. Matt Long now up on the back of Blake Iglio, and you're absolutely right. These drivers don't want to go to Martinsville next week and have any sort of stress. They want to go to Martinsville and not have to worry about Martinsville. They want to be able to enjoy it and not have to worry about points because, like you said, it's the great equalizer. Let's see if I can learn how to speak here. It's the great equalizer, and it's absolutely pretty much for all these top 7 drivers. It's a must win, or points as much as you can tonight. You want to do as much as you can to take the least amount of stress going into Martinsville.
Yeah, I mean, the words not stressed and Martinsville generally don't go in the same sentence. But, if you can get a win, then they sure do, because you can go to Martinsville, and I've literally seen it where somebody locks themselves in before Martinsville. They know they're good to go to Phoenix, and then something minor happens at Martinsville. They get a bump on the rear end. They get a dent in their deck lid, and they're just like, car's ruined. We're done. I'm parking it because they can. You want to get that win. You want to put yourself at ease. Here we go. An overtake for 3rd place. Bryson Hickson-Bott to the point on the podium. And now he's got 2 more cars to hunt down. And here's the interesting thing. Bryson was as far back as about 1.5 seconds last time we checked on him, back when he was in 6th position. Now he's only 0.8 of a second behind our current leader on lap 239 out of 267. Bryson's got plenty of time. If he keeps up this pace and he continues running this fast, he's got plenty of time to run down the leader. The question is, number 1, will the race stay green to permit that strategy to work out? And number 2, do we hit the tire wear plateau? Does that advantage he has right now kind of go away? Because there will come a time where the tires are so worn for everybody that it doesn't necessarily matter if you've been saving, because the tire wear is just kind of evening out amongst the field. That being said, I think Bryson's long run speed is more than just conservation. I think there's got to be something in that setup that is just aiding him in these long runs, because it seems like him and Matt Long both just have something under the hood that nobody else does.
Yeah, and as soon as you say the name, Matt Long is also up a few positions. Just a few moments ago, he was back in the 11th, 12th place, fighting to get up in the top 10. Now he's up in the 7th position. Just a few laps. So both of these guys really have something going on in their setup that really just lends them to these longer runs. Bryson Hickson-Ball all over the back of Alex Murray now. He's going to try to make the move here momentarily. Alex Murray, this is not what you want. You want to be up fighting for first place with Ralph Hutchison, but right now he is just under attack left and right from Bryson Hickson-Ball. It's the last thing that he really wanted.
Yeah, it's also the last thing Bryson wants. Right now, Bryson's just thinking about getting that win, and right now, Alex Murray's kind of standing in his way. He's saying, nope, you're going to have to fight if you want to get around me. And you know what? Alex Murray had every right to do so. He's got his own championship to worry about, and if he wants to play a little bit of defense, that is A-okay. But unfortunately, that long run speed out of the 63 was just too much. I mean, it is just wicked how fast he is on the long run. It is absurd compared to these other guys. I mean, it is 0.1 of a second per lap. And you can see right there in the center of the corner, I mean, he's not really running a different line necessarily, Michael. He's just carrying more speed on the same line that everybody else has.
Yeah, he's really got that car fired up. He's getting so much grip that these other guys are kind of not really having in these later runs. And Alex Murray, he really had to defend that a little harder, I think, because he's in the last place in the spots right now. He needs the win more than anybody else, even more than Ralph Hutchison. But Bryson Hickson-Ball just has that car locked in right now. He's starting to gain on Ralph Hutchison. He's down to about half a second here. We'll see how long it takes, but there's only 25 laps to go. So if you're Ralph Hutchison, I mean, how much are you sweating right now?
Well, I don't know that he's sweating right now, because I looked at the gap the last time around, and Bryson really didn't gain. I mean, he might have gained a couple hundredths of a second, but nothing significant last time compared to the tenths that he was gaining the laps before that. Now he's brought it down to 0.3, so maybe it was just a bit of an off lap or something kind of held him up, maybe some dirty air, maybe he hit a bump wrong in the corner, had to lift. But overall, as it goes back to 0.47, it seems like maybe the gap is stabilizing here, Michael.
Yeah, I was going to say, as soon as you said that, it went right back up to 0.47, 0.48. So I don't know if maybe he's just a little bit quicker in the one corner, but I mean, honestly, I think you're right, because right now it's down to a 0.3, but we'll see here momentarily if it jumps back up. And actually, he might be gaining on this lap, so we'll see here momentarily. But a little further back in the pack, Sean O'Brien Jr. trying to make a move here. He is on the inside there of Kevin Steele. And, I'm sorry, that is the 9 car. That is Princeton, Alex Princeton. He's on the inside of Alex Princeton. And he has got... I'm looking at the wrong car. No, that's Sean O'Brien in the 65 there. So Sean O'Brien is up in the 14th place. He's got Alex... Yeah, now he's got Kevin Steele on the inside. So I'm sorry, I was getting my cars mixed up a little bit there. And Princeton is right behind them. So Kevin Steele trying to make the move. He's down on the inside of O'Brien. Sean O'Brien trying to hold that outside line. But we know that the inside line is the better of the two lines. And it looks like this time around... Kevin Steele is going to get the move done, and Alex Princeton is definitely taking a look here on the inside quarter panel. He's going to try to keep the inside line, so that puts him up a little bit further up the pack. He's going to try to take the move here, and right behind them looks like it is Christopher. Christopher is going to try to make the move as well, and we are going to have a battle here for the lead here momentarily. Ralph Hutchison under complete pressure here by Bryson Hicksonball, just over a tenth between them.
Yeah, Bryson was actually able to get alongside of him just before we cut to him, and Ralph got the run. He was able to kind of block that maneuver and get Bryson back in the rearview mirror, but I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to fend him off. Bryson doing everything he can down on that little line. You can see the speed in the center of the corner is just insane out of that 63. He's going to dive down low. Ralph is up against that safer barrier. Now, Ralph is going to have a bit of an advantage down the straightaway, but Bryson has put himself in position to have that preferred line down closer to the apex on that white line. And it seems like, can he do it? No, he washes up a little bit, has to lift, so that was unexpected. That's the first time I've seen that 63 do anything out of the norm. I haven't really seen him get loose. I haven't really seen him get tight, but right there, Michael, it looked like that front end just kind of washed out on him.
Yeah, that Camaro definitely got a little loose there. Kind of surprised because as we saw earlier, he's just got such a strong pace on these long runs. He was cutting that timing down, and we're going to jump back to the pack here. But here we go, back up front here. He's cutting that time down, but for whatever reason, they're coming out of the end of the corner there. He just washed the front end, like you said. And the one thing that we really gotta go back to the stage 2 win for Ralph Hutchison when we talked to him. He was saying that his rear right tire had started to go on him, and he didn't really have much left for Bryson Hicksonball. That was with, a few laps left that he was starting to deal with that. Now he's got 18 laps. He's got Bryson Hicksonball all over his corner panel. We're going to see if he can make the move stick this time, but this is definitely going to be a big issue here for the rest of the race for Ralph Hutchison if he's trying to win this race.
Now Bryson is able to stay alongside this time, just barely. I want to remind the viewers at home, so you mentioned he burned up his right rear. So on these cars, when you're racing on an oval, if you burn up your right rear, the car tends to get looser, which means you have a little bit of oversteer and the rear end wants to swing out on you. If you burn out the right front, the car gets tighter because you don't have front end grip, so it's not rotating the car like you want. So when Ralph says, I burned out my right rear, what he's saying is he's got no domain over the rear end of that car. It's just really loose, which means he's got to be really careful on the inputs, very careful on the throttle and the acceleration. Whereas Bryson, I'm not sure he's burning up that right rear quite as aggressively, but this battle is insane because they have stayed side by side for the entirety of me rambling on like a lunatic about tire wear. They have stayed side by side, and Bryson just barely getting the advantage here. He is clear, but will he throw the slider on him? Is he going to try to block him? No. Ralph able to get a bit of a run out of the corner, just barely staying alive in the battle for the lead here, able to stay at the quarter panel, and now a bit of an advantage even going into 3 and 4. What can Bryson do down on the white line? Maybe not much as Ralph gets clear again. Is he clear? No, he's not. This continues. Now he's clear. Back into the lead. What a fight.
Yeah, that was absolutely stunning for both of these drivers. I really thought that Bryson was going to get the move done, but Ralph Hutchison, sliding up to the middle line, just not even blinking, having a great exit every single time on the straights. We're going to see this battle is going to continue. It's not over yet, but definitely great driving from both of these drivers. Both of them fighting for this win so they can kind of forget about next week and just focus on Phoenix.
And Bryson's biggest issue here is that being on the bottom line, especially late into the run when the tires aren't all there, he's got to lift a little bit more to get through the center of the corner. Otherwise, he's going to push up and he's going to make contact with that 54. The only way for him to really successfully make this overtake is if he's able to somehow force that 54 up the track and afford himself more room to run a line, which is just a little bit further up the track. And I'm not talking running the middle of the track or something drastic like that. I'm literally talking if he could just run half a lane or a lane up from where he is, he wouldn't have to get out of the throttle so much, and he'd be able to get clear of Ralph and kind of free himself of any retaliation attack there, overtake from it. But unfortunately for him, he's kind of glued to that bottom, and it's a double-edged sword. The bottom is where the car is pretty comfortable, and there is some speed to be had, but on corner exit, Ralph is really getting him, and there we go down the straightaway. Bryson's clear, but can Ralph strike back again just like he did before?
Yeah, and the one thing that we're not really talking about here, we mentioned that he was wearing out his rear right tire, and that was a great explanation there, so I want to give you definitely shout out for that, explaining the difference between the front and the rear. But knowing that he was dealing with that, I wonder if Ralph was able to make any adjustments to kind of counteract that. But right now we're seeing Bryson Hixenbaugh is starting to gain a little bit of a lead there, so I'm not sure that's really going to matter.
Now, Bryson making it to Phoenix would be pretty big. Bryson was in the championship for the inaugural season of the league back in 2020, and in that season, he was the favorite to win. He had, I believe, something absurd. I want to say it may have been double-digit wins. Don't quote me on that. I could be incorrect. I'm remembering double digits. So he was far and away the fastest driver that year, and when we rolled up to Phoenix, everyone said, all right, he's the favorite. He's going to win it. Because not only is he the fastest driver that year, but Phoenix is his home track. So we're thinking, yep, all the cards are in his favor. He's got this thing locked down. But then Phoenix, being Phoenix, was an absolute roller coaster. Things happened in that race that I don't think anybody could have predicted in a million years. And what it boiled down to was all four of the playoff drivers restarting bunched up with each other at the front of the field late into the race. One of the drivers didn't have a front end. They had no hood. There was smoke bellowing out of the car, but they said, you know what? I'm part of the Final Four. I can't park this thing. I got to try anyways. And because they were so off pace, it caused this massive checkup. And Bryson Hixenbaugh just made the wrong call, got involved in an incident, and Cameron Stone drove away and became the league champion that year. So Bryson's been looking for a little bit of redemption ever since. Although, to be fair to Bryson, he doesn't really consider a playoff championship as being all that important personally, as opposed to a season-long points championship. But even still, just getting a little bit of redemption at that track after what should have been a surefire win, and having a shot at that would be huge.
Coming from my background of watching the NASCAR in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, I like that. That makes me, kind of go back to my roots back in the day where it was a season-long championship. So I like that thought process. But obviously, we got the playoff style now, so it's completely different. But still, just as important to win a championship. It just throws a different, kind of niche at things when you have the playoff here, kind of breaking down to the final 8, the final 4, So it's definitely really exciting here as we have 8 laps to go. Bryson Hixenbaugh pulling out quite a bit of a lead, though. He's about 0.8 up, almost a whole second up from Ralph Hutchison. Ralph is also a few seconds up on Alex Murray there. So unless something crazy happens, I'm not sure Ralph has an answer for Bryson Hixenbaugh at this point.
Yeah, 0.9 of a second between them. And I will say, I'm with you. I'll take a season-long points format any day. And some people don't like that. They say, oh, no, the playoffs are, they're great. That's what makes it a sport. And I say every other motorsport division under the sun, from road racing to oval racing to local racing, none of them do a playoff format. This is only a NASCAR thing, and that makes you think. But, it is what it is. It's the format we have. And you're right, it does lead to some pretty dramatic moments. It's a different type of championship. It's a different type of drama, but it's what we got, and some drivers still value it. Some drivers like Bryson think, I'd rather just go out here for wins and go about my day. But Either way, look at this. Lucas Hoytsma, RJ Root. That, I don't think you get that, Michael.
No, not at all. I do see the point, though. So somebody like John Mulaney, who's had, 9 wins this season, if he doesn't win at Phoenix, then, that kind of is kind of a head scratcher. But at the end of the day, he's one of 4 drivers that can win the championship that race. So it doesn't matter what you've done all season long to that point. It's all about that one race. So you can take it or leave it. It's kind of like one of the, it's definitely got its advantages. And I definitely see how people are like, well, I had a 30 race season come down to one race. So I see both sides of the coin. Definitely understand where Bryson Hixenbaugh is coming from.
Oh, RJ
that was
that outside wall.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a little bit of a tap there. I'm surprised, actually. We haven't seen too many cars really brushing the wall. I kind of thought that we were going to see a lot more of that tonight.
I agree. When I was watching practice, when these guys were, kind of making laps before we gridded up here, I saw a lot of cars getting tight on long runs. I saw quite a few drivers kind of that outside barrier. And here in the race, we have not really seen a lot of it. And you can't really say it's because we've only had short runs and the handling hasn't gone away. I mean, we've had pretty much nothing but long runs this race. Mm-hmm. So it is interesting that these guys have been able to keep it down off the wall and not make too many mistakes. It seems like just kind of snapping loose has been the bigger issue for a lot of these guys. Battle for the lead has remained the same, so as we follow along with Mark Paget here in 7th, you're not missing out on too much. He's got Hammond behind him, and he's got RJ Root in front. Which, by the way, I want to point out real quick, Hammond in the number 17. When we checked in on him about halfway, actually 3/4 through stage 1, he was 2 laps down, Michael. 2 laps down, and now here he is on the lead lap in the top 10. You can't ask for much of a better recovery than that.
No, that was absolutely stellar drive here by Hammond. And I'm not sure what happened there. I think he had an off-timed pit stop, which is what threw him off 2 laps. But yeah, no, he's had a great rest of the race here, up into 8th place, just absolutely stellar drive. So great run for him, confidence booster going towards, in the end of the season here and possibly in the next season. But yeah, you love to see drivers like that kind of sticking it out and just, chipping away and be able to, get themselves into the top 10 as we have 2 laps left to go. I'm sorry, we are on the white flag lap. So Andre, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it from here. We have Bryson Hixenbaugh up in 1st place.
Yeah, he's got 1.1 seconds back to the next car. All he's got to do is hit his marks, bring it back to the line clean. There's no questions. There's no unknowns. He knows he's got enough fuel. He knows he's got the tires underneath him. He knows he's got a comfortable gap. Just coast it through these corners, no crazy mistakes, and he is going to punch his ticket to Phoenix for an attempt at redemption. Bryson Hixenbaugh in the Before It Breaks Auto Parts Chevrolet is going to win here at Homestead, punching his ticket to Phoenix after a impressive run back to the front. He fell through the grid, got back up to the front, and drove away with it. What a race for that 63 team.
Yeah, not only did he fall back and then drive up, but he gained about a second there on Ralph Hutchison there at the end. So that was just an amazing drive here. Those long runs from him and Matt Long were extremely impressive. But Bryson Hixenbaugh, absolutely stunning drive tonight, and definitely a well-deserved victory, and he is on his way to Phoenix.
I'm sure he's pretty ecstatic about that. I know Martinsville is not amongst Bryson's favorite tracks, so to be able to lock himself into the championship race at Phoenix is a huge, huge load off his mind, I'm sure. And he's going to burn it down Miami style here, right at the line. Now, if those tires get a little bit too hot from the burnout, does that make it Miami Heat?
Oh, man, yeah, I guess it does. But yeah, that before it breaks car, absolutely stunning livery there. I love it. But a great run, up 16 positions from a starting point. So I can't wait to talk to him and see what his thoughts on tonight's race were. But we see him out there celebrating, and we are going to have your top 3 here in the booth momentarily, guys.
Yeah, we're going to try and line up some interviews, and while we line those up, we'll go through the final running order for tonight's race. Bryson Hixenbaugh going to Phoenix. He wins the race here at Homestead. Ralph Hutchison brings it home second in a disappointing run for a must-win. It's not often you can call second place disappointing, but when you're in that point situation and you come so close, that is gut-wrenching. And we do have a bit of a team celebration going on. Everybody over on Ace Moneymaker Racing is trying to celebrate. Back in third, Alex Murray. Lucas Weitzma, P4. Matt Long charges back to fifth. He was all the way back in 11th at one point, got all the way back to fifth. Let's not discount that. Raymond Root in P6. Mark Paget, P7. Christopher Hammond is going to be 8th. Robert Anderson is going to be P9. Kevin Steele bringing it back to a top 10. How did that happen? He was back in 20th last I looked, and then he got back to 10th. So what a run for Kevin Consistency Steele. Matt Dicciani, after grabbing the pole, is going to finish P11. So, you know, there's some ones in that number as well, just one too many. Tanner Marty, P12. Alex Van Desant, 13th. Blake Giglio, 14th. Brandon Pierce, P15. Trevor Ryan is going to be 16th, right in front of 17th Mike Christopher. Alex Princeton, P18. 19 and 20 are going to go to Sean O'Brien Jr. and Kyle Ammon. Mike?
We got Dalton Mobley coming in 21st, Cameron Stone coming through in 22nd, Randy Drumhiller in 23rd, Carl Dodson coming in 24th, Demarius Hickenbottom coming through in 25th, Preston McRae in 26th, Jeff Hooper in 27th, Jason Taylor in 28th, Alexander Russell in 29th, Wayne Grassy in 30th, Derek Heitman in 31st, Patrick Muchet in 32nd, Jason Baker in 33rd, Chad Sainer in 34th, Chad Edwards in 35th, Dabian Arcienza and Nolan Hodgson, both unable to finish the race in 36th and 37th.
And that is going to do it for our post-race results. You know where your favorite driver finished. We're going to try to have a word with third place, Alex Murray. Let's see what he's thinking about tonight, if we can bring him up. Alex Murray, you got a copy?
Gotcha.
Well, Alex, really solid night tonight, finishing on the podium, and now it's on to Homestead. What's going through your mind, man? Or Martinsville, yes. I'm a little. It's been a long day. Forgive me.
I hear you. Yeah, it was a tough one in the car too. You know, I was looking forward to this race. I thought we maybe would have a shot at locking ourselves into the final four, and came close. Didn't quite have enough, but going on to Martinsville with good momentum, and hopefully we can keep it. We worked on the car all night, got it better. If I had one more stage, maybe I could have got to Bryson. But yeah, Bryson was definitely a class of the field, long run wise tonight. Martinsville, I think, is going to be tough, and we're pretty much going to be in a must-win situation to go to the final four. So definitely going to have to put some work into the setup and figure some stuff out for that race.
Now, with Martinsville being a massive wild card, as Ralph put it in one of his interviews, you don't really control your own destiny there. What's the game plan? Are you just going to try to minimize the chaos and put yourself in the safest situation? Or are you going to maybe take a more aggressive approach to it and just try to get out front and lead some laps?
I think you've kind of got to take it as it comes to you. I think, you know, best scenario is we get out front and nobody can touch us and we lead every lap and win the race. But, you know, like you said, Ralph said, anything can happen to anybody. So, I mean, we could be involved in it, or other playoff guys could be, and we could make it in by a couple points. So, go in there, keep it clean, and finish the race, and just see where we end up.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a solid plan to me. Well, again, congratulations on your podium. Before we let you go, is there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, Clips, obviously, BRTV, Burnt Rubber Productions, everybody at Prodigy Esports. Kind of had a special paint scheme tonight for my aunt who passed away on Monday, so I know she was watching over me and keeping me out of trouble tonight. So had a good one, obviously, and my girlfriend as well. She I don't know if she was watching tonight. She usually does. I think this is only the second race you guys have done for this series, so I'm not sure if she found it or not.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time, Alex. Congratulations, and we'll let you go get ready for next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Now I believe Michael has caught up with our second place runner-up, Ralph Hutchison.
Ralph, do you got a copy?
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Ralph. Congratulations on second place. I know you were looking for the win there, but still, you had a strong run tonight. And unfortunately, you're probably going to have to be looking forward to Martinsville next week. So, what's your thought process here?
Yeah, I feel like that was really my best shot there. Martinsville, anything can happen. You guys said that earlier, so I got to go in with that attitude that anything can happen. But in all reality, I'm more positive than I am anything because the second half of this year, this summer, since the tire changed in this build, I have been lost out to lunch on any kind of speed, and I've just kind of nickel and dimed my way into the round of 8. And part of me was kind of feeling like I shouldn't have even made it here. Just the insurance from earlier in the season is the only reason I made it this far, even. So, trying to keep a level head and be positive that it seems like I finally found some speed. Finally kind of finding my way with this tire. So, keep rolling forward. Thanks to Shorvis Racing Graphics for sticking with me through all of it, and God is good.
Just want to give you a quick question here. We saw an amazing battle between you and Bryson there. Obviously, Bryson was able to get past you and get a little bit of a gap, but those, about 5-10 laps, it felt like. Walk us through what you were going through with that battle between you and Bryson, with Bryson just right there on your quarter panel every single lap.
Yeah, man. I'm going to lead with this. Bryson is my first favorite person to race against in this league. We've had some pretty epic battles more than once, and we've always been clean, and that wasn't going to change tonight, regardless what was on the line there. I knew very early in the race, watching lap times, that he had just never gotten a long enough run to really give me a good swing for it. And the way that shook out with a 57-lap run to the end, pretty much that whole run, I was focused on Alex because he was pushing too, but I was looking up every time that Bryson was getting closer and closer and closer when he finally decided to go. And I was gearing up. I knew I was better than pretty much everyone in 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 was my weak spot. So my thought was, through that whole thing, if I can just survive and keep my nose in there somewhere through 1 and 2, I could just pin him down in 3 and 4 and, hope he doesn't, knock me out of the way. But that was really my only hope there, and I fought as hard as I could. But, the better car won today, so congrats to him.
Well, that was amazing wheel-to-wheel action there, and you can say that the better car won, but you definitely had a heck of a race yourself. Second place, nothing to shy away from. Congratulations, and look forward to seeing you next week at Martinsville. Did you want to shout out to anybody?
I've only got one sponsor at the moment, so thanks to Shorvis Racing Graphics, and like I said, God is good. Gonna give it our best swing at Martinsville. Not my best track, never has been, but you guys said it, anything can happen. So appreciate you guys and everything you do, and Damaris and Kevin, what they do for the league.
Well, Ralph, I want to thank you for joining us, and everybody, that's Ralph Hutchison, second place, currently still in the points, still has a shot at the championship, so thanks for joining us, Ralph. And Andre, I'll let you finish off with our race winner.
I'm down here in victory lane. B Hicks, you're going to Phoenix. How do you feel, man?
Oh, it feels great. It's not been the greatest stretch of races here, but I finally pulled it out and figured out how to finish one of these.
You had the bar none best long run speed in the field, and just the way it shook out really kind of played into what it seemed like your car was built for. Did you put a lot of time into kind of focusing on that long run speed? Was that the goal going in, and when you were working on the car, or how much kind of preparation did you put into this?
I put a lot of time into it a couple weeks ago, preparing for the Coke race for all the guys at Team Conti. Put in over 1,000 hours working on that, and I did not like this track after that. I could not touch it this week until leading up to this race. I needed to make sure I could practice and get back in the rhythm for it.
Absolutely. Now, we've already asked Ralph about it because we wanted his perspective too, but you and the number 54 had a phenomenal battle. I mean, just 10 consecutive laps of just quarter panel to quarter panel, door to door, side by side, never leaving each other. And yet it was super respectful, super clean, but just good, hard racing. How was that from your perspective? What was going through your mind?
Oh, it was a lot of fun there. I knew I was getting him off of 2. He couldn't quite get to the throttle the way I could, so I could gain on him there. but I couldn't get the car to turn off of 4, so he'd gain all the time back coming there, and I was just hoping that his tires were wearing out enough in that upper lane that eventually I'd be able to wear him down and get back by him. And it was tough there. There were some times where I thought that my tires were done before his were, and that it was going to be over, and then I'd cool him down for a lap and get right back to it.
Now, normally I would ask you how you feel about Martinsville going forward, but that doesn't really matter because you already punched your ticket to the championship event. So, how about Phoenix? How do you feel about that track?
I'm looking forward to it. Even looking forward to Martinsville with nothing on the line really for me other than trying to go out there and get another win. I think before the season my goal was 6 wins, and I still technically have a shot at that. However unlikely that may be to finish off with 3 straight, but we can try, and hopefully we'll do well next week and go to Phoenix and have a shot at the championship.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the win. Before we let you go, is there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yep, I'd like to shout out all the friends and family that watch and support all year long. They've been great. I love all of you. Thank you so much. And I'd also like to shout out to Jimmy and his family. They're going through a tough time right now. Everybody in this league, we all think of him, and we all are just heartbroken over what's going on there. So just sending our thoughts over to him and that family, and Jimmy Strong.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for your time, Bryson. Congratulations on the win. We're going to let you go celebrate.
Thank you, guys.
And that is going to do it for our post-race interviews. Man, oh man, that was a pretty dang good race there, Michael, especially that battle at the end between Bryson and Ralph. You don't always get to see such pure motorsport when you're watching a race, but that's what that was. That was pure motorsport, and that was awesome.
Yeah, that was an absolutely stunning battle there at the end. I can't believe how long they were able to go side by side, and then you saw Bryson back out a little bit to cool his tires down, like you said, and then right back at it, just like lap after lap, side by side. The whole entire race was just a great race. For the most part, you know, we had our cautions, we had our forced cautions, but for the most part, it was completely clean race. I think the couple cautions that we saw were just a couple cars getting loose in the wrong spot. Nothing, you know, major, nothing massive. Just an absolutely great race from start to finish. And, you know, I'm more than excited to, you know, not only be here tonight, but I can't wait for Martinsville next week.
I can't agree more, but that is going to do it for us here at JPB. And we're going to be catching you next week at Martinsville for some more playoff round of 8 action, the final race in the round of 8. I've been Andre Grandbouche, joined alongside Michael, David, and of course the producer, James Parfitt. We want to thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.